And for those who enjoy this channel and would love to support us financially, please feel free to hit that donate link. We'd greatly appreciate it. God bless.
I mean, in Christianity, the fruits of Christianity, I go through all the statistics I mentioned. They're the most happiest. I mean, science verifies that, God gives people purpose, and they have intrinsic purpose.
This is basically, when it boils down to it, it's Lucifer.
Yep, down
because
where the
he's
rubber
getting
meets
ready
the
for
road.
and he's getting ready for his entrance.
Yes, he is.
And the argument in this debate is really about, would Noah's Ark work? And I think I've already made the case that Noah's Ark would work, that a ship that size could be built out of wood and would be seaworthy, as testified to by a world-class shipbuilding firm in South Korea.
I would say that based on, the fact that we inherit 100 new mutations per person per individual, you take that genetic entropy back to a point of least genetic entropy. I don't know exactly what they look like. I can't really draw you a picture, but that would be a genome of, for one, created diversity without any, mutational load, genetic load. So
basically what we're asking you to do is to ground intelligibility or rationality of some normative X, whatever it is, and then give us a grounding paradigmatically. That is at a more foundational level.
Shalom. Say, I want to do some of my Hebrew tonight. Estai methemon charis Elias Irene Paratha U Patras Kai Isu Christu tu Huyu tu Patras in Aletheia I Agape. Grace, mercy, peace will be with us from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. So we have some special guests tonight. We got Rob, Matt in the house. We got Jason in the house too. Faithful, true. Yeah, it's an awesome thing to have these guys with us tonight. I'm glad you're with us. And so how's it going, guys?
Going good, man. Always good over here.
Yeah, so
yes, very good. Sorry, I was a bit preoccupied. Sorry.
Yeah. So I guess we'll do some commentary on R.J. Downard and this guy named Red. And the reason why I'm bringing I think I might regularly do this. Critique laughing stocks. I think that would be a fun thing for me to do because they really are laughing stocks. Some of these dunderheads. So Matt has some special material that he found on R.J. Downard, and we're going to expose him a little bit. And that's what this is all about tonight. It's exposing laughing stocks.
It's exposing ridiculous rescuing devices. It's exposing evolution. It's exposing all the things that they hide from the public. I mean, you're constantly they're tap dancing around everything. It's all about speculation, and it's all about how it's cherry picked data. So we're gonna go through a lot of it today. It might get a little advanced, but I'll keep it as calm as I can.
Boo! I can't wait, dude, because Matt, I'm telling you, Matt and Standing for Truth and Neff, those guys are incredible knowledge bases. And the stuff this is awesome to have them in front of with creation. They are awesome assets to Christianity and creationism. So we'll get going here. Now, I think I'm going to play it on the small screen, but then I'm going to show on the big screen what Matt has a specific video, and we're going to review that too, of R.J. Downard. And you can see how much hubris and how much it's just so much, or they're just so arrogant with what they claim to know, and then even you'll hear it. I'm gonna let it go. So,
and then I didn't know who you meant by Red, and then I got that link, and it was from Jungle Jargon's channel, and I listened to it for like an hour, and the guy's playing video games as he's debating. You can hear his girlfriend going, "Are you gonna leave and go get groceries?" And he's like, "No, I'll go out in a minute." He's like yelling at his girlfriend.
Oh my gosh!
That's pretty good. If he can focus on if he can focus on playing video games and debating at the same time, he's a better man than me, I suppose.
His debating was basically no, it doesn't, no, it doesn't, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I see. So he wasn't focusing.
Right.
Okay.
He was zoned out a lot, and the more the debate went on, the more he got lost. Like at the end, you could tell he's not even paying attention.
Yeah, I mean the grandiosity for some of these internet evolutionists / atheists is incredible, and they talk like it's a settled thing. It's not set, not even in. If you really want to get into, to be honest, if you want to get into what's really happening in science, scientists are really hung up on evolution. I mean, most of them. They won't even make a claim because scientists don't make epistemological claims. They just do the science. They don't go out of their way to say, well, this is true or this is false. That belongs in the arena of philosophy. So I want to make that clear too. That you'll see the arrogance from internet atheists and evolutionists. Also, I'm going to expose this one clown with frickin' slavery, Leviticus 25. I mean, it's not necessarily to like to character assassinate or anything, but it's a good edifying good education. So I'm going to edify people with this with the Torah. So before we get to that, I want to do this though. So Matt, I'm going to see if you can hear this, or do you want me to just to play it on StreamYard?
Don't worry, just play it for the audience, and then I pretty much know what it says. It's only like a 5-6 minute video, so
yeah,
I don't really need to know what they say. I can just see the picture and know what they're talking about.
Yeah, we'll play the video before we get to the actual modern day debate. But here we go.
The reason why complex multicellular organisms, including us, came about is because of an endosymbiotic process. That the pieces that make up a bacterial endosymbiosis can do things that the two individual parts are never going to do. That it allows exchanges and compartmentalizations of stuff.
So from the beginning, life went in 3 different directions. And these are called domains. A domain is one level up from a kingdom in terms of classification. And we've got the well-known bacteria domain. But what we're mostly concerned with here is the eukaryote domain. And the word eukaryote means true cell. And what happened was a process called endosymbiosis, where various type of bacteria combined together. One cell went into another cell to create a more complex cell with
face palm.
Yeah, everything they said there is a mythical event that they've just imagined happened because they need it to be true. They're telling you that a bacteria ate something else, a eukaryote, and it became a eukaryote. It changed domains. That's what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah. Wow, but isn't that just so much special pleading and ad hoc stuff that they just claim to think that's everything in evolution is unobservable, especially in the past billions of years ago. So that automatically makes it post hoc, ad hoc, and storytelling. So they're trying to tell us what the future, what happened what happened in the past, without even actually observing the past. So people buy this stuff hook, line, and sinker. And this is, I mean, if anyone's a true skeptic, remember, I think this is one of the credos that are staple points that atheists claim to do is doubt everything, doubt and test everything. Well, they don't do that with their evolution theory. I think they are I think they're hypocrites in that type of with that type of science. Or not even pseudoscience, because I mean it's unobservable because you have to extrapolate what happened in the past. So that's pseudoscience. Automatically, that's pseudoscience. But they'll try to escape out of that, and we'll say, well, we have evidence of minor changes. Well, that's still not evidence either of frickin' grand scale evolution, because you still have to extrapolate it and prove that these grand scale changes lead up to a whole new organism or a whole new genome of in the scientific classification system.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Jason? What do you got to say?
Well, they contradict themselves a lot. They say that I don't know. I wasn't really paying much attention. My focus was on something else at that time when Praise was talking. But they always seem to say stuff like that a cell never turned into a pine tree or an elephant. But if it never turned into a pine tree or an elephant, it'd still just be all bacteria on Earth. There wouldn't be any. That's all. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
No problem.
Really
Well, here's what I have to say. Symbiosis we see everywhere, but endosymbiosis is what he was talking about. Now, if that was true, then we could easily replicate that today, because guess what? Bacteria still exist. Eukaryote cells still exist. So you can easily force bacteria to replicate what they're saying happened billions of years ago. And they try, and nothing does happen. So why are we going to believe that it did happen? God knows when. In their mythical experiments, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And because a certain type of bacteria eats what do they call it, an algae, and then that algae produces food for the bacteria while it's living inside the bacteria. They say that somehow that's going to combine and become something more complex.
Right.
That's
well, the first problem they have is that bacteria were the first life forms on Earth. So now all of a sudden, how do you get bacteria without having algae, right? Because algae is what spurred most of these bacteria to form, they think. That's why their new system has come out. So it's not just a single-celled organism anymore that gave life. Now it's a 3-tiered domain that gave life, a life to rise. So they're revising everything. They're having a lot of problems. They also have to account for the new arrival of multiple thousands of genes. Think about it. A bacteria has about 1,500 genes. Well, a human being has 19,000. So somewhere along the line, 17,500 genes have to randomly arise and know exactly what to do to function, to make a human work. So
wow, that's incredible.
That's a lot of genes just to arise randomly and to actually have all function inside the human body.
You know what that's called? It's called a miracle. So they ascribe miracles to their belief system all the time, and then yet they're going to critique the biblical miracles. Isn't that ironic?
I know, right?
Okay,
let's play some more video then.
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
Old Scratch is just asking what created kind myosids are. Yeah. As, for those of you who are not aware, the myosids are the cute little ancestors to the carnivora cats and dogs and crowd. And
did you see that?
Yeah.
See what he said?
A group of animals called myosids once found across Eurasia, and they were small, long-bodied creatures, a little like a pine mar or something.
Okay, yeah, what he's referring to are these little creatures. So you could pull up the first picture so people can look at it while I talk. Basically, he's saying that they're ancestors to cats and dogs and bears and raccoons. So he thinks everything came from that. That little creature right there gave rise to everything. They don't know where it came from, but they know that it gave rise to everything else, right? So here's what I have to say to that. Basically, they're mocking it. They laugh when they're said, well, what kind is a myosid? They're making fun of the creationist word for kind, the Behrman. So they laugh because in their imaginations, the myosids did give rise to all the creatures that they're looking at around their yard today. But first, let's look at why it's not the original heirloom creature of our modern day dogs and cats. One, we have myosid-like creatures alive that look structurally identical to what they have today. So, but I guess before I get into it, I'll let you guys say what you think. Have you ever heard of these creatures before?
No. Myosids.
Myosid. I haven't really done much. No.
Okay, no problem. So play it, and then as I see the pictures, I'm sure I'm delayed a little bit watching the actual screen, but go ahead and
Yeah.
play it and I'll say it. So there's a cat on the left and a myosid on the right. Look how different that thing is. That was one of the first problems. Another thing is that when we look at cats, or let's say that the living ancestor of the myosids today, their stomach and their intestines and their teeth, they all mimic an omnivore. And they never speciated in anything close to a carnivore. They can speculate all they want that it produced a feline or a canine, but when we have orphan genes, DNA sequences, cytochrome B and C comparisons, which completely contradict one another. We also have the anatomical data and molecular data, which contradict one another as well. But when we're looking at these myosids and then we look at these cats, they don't line up at all from teeth, from physiology, from anatomy. Cats have retractable claws. Myosids' claws stick out. They are sticking out. Myosids' teeth. Matter of fact, hit play some more. Let a couple more pictures go. I show a picture of what the myosids' teeth look like, and they're completely molars for grinding plants.
Oh wow! So yeah, so they would have sharp teeth, right? Cats.
Yeah, cats all have very sharp teeth. And these things, even alive today, that look identical to myosids, and the myosids in the past all have identical teeth for omnivores.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I don't see a connection there at all. Not at all.
Right, because we can go as far back as cats as we can, and we're always seeing the same thing. Cats' teeth in every single mouth, the carnivorian the teeth, no matter what. The cats are always cats. The feline order is always in the feline order, and they have feline-specific orphan gene all the time. But see, they don't have the DNA of a myosid, so they can say whatever they want. And there's no proof, right? They can just say, well, it's an ancestor to this. Well, guess what? There's no DNA. There's no genetic data material. There's no anything. So they just have some bones. They put the bones on the table and say it's related to that. Prove me wrong. See? Look at that thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Great job with this video. You always have perfect pictures with your stuff. Good stuff.
Thanks. So I guess what I would specifically say to close up on this, they cherry pick the data to give the example to the audience and to the public and to kids in this education school. This is a perfect example, by the way. You're going to love it. Cytochrome B rarely is shown to the public because there's striking differences between the classical animal phylogeny drawn up in textbooks, especially next to cytochrome C. So what they do is, if you look at the trends of ecology and evolution and read the articles that's there, they even state, word for word, it says, the mitochondrial cytochrome B gene implied an absurd phylogeny of mammals regarding the method tree constructed. Cats and whales fell within the primates, grouping of similar between monkeys and apes, and lemurs of cytochrome B, which is probably the most commonly sequenced gene of vertebrates, making it surprising results even more disconcerting. And then the Australian microbiologist Michael Denton said, there is not a trace of a molecular level of the traditional evolutionary series. Man is as close to a lamprey as to a fish, and a lamprey is an eel. So obviously fish and eels aren't the same. So that's basically like saying man is related to an ape like a fish is to an eel. They're not related at all. And then one more, evolutionary biologist Francisco Elia at the UCI reluctantly concluded, he concedes this. He said, including the following: the chicken appears to be related more closely to the pigeon than to the ducks and the pigeon. The turtle, which is a reptile, appears to be more closely related to birds than to rattlesnakes. And man and monkey diverged from mammals before the marsupial kangaroo separated from the placental mammals. Basically, they're saying that it's a complete disaster when you look at the mitochondrial data.
Wow. I was going to say, that if they're trying to connect these somehow, that what you were explaining there, that doesn't work. So I guess there's dilemmas and issues within all that.
Right, exactly. The anatomical data that they have doesn't match the molecular data. They contradict each other. So that's why they like to use the fossil record, because it's inference. They don't have any molecular data. They can just line bones up on the table like Bill Ludlow used to do and say, look, isn't that great? You can line them up and you can see which one evolved into which. Why? Because you lined up small to large? we can do that with infants to adults. That doesn't mean anything. It's the same thing. A matter of fact, Jason showed me an incredible series of skulls lined up that shows a baby primate and an adult primate, and they look totally different.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the orangutan. The orangutan baby skull looks very human-like. As a matter of fact, it looks a lot like some of those hominid skulls. I believe I'm developing a theory that some of these hominid skulls, where they call them different genus and different types, well, there was one place in, I can't remember, Germany, I think it was, where they found a whole lot of what they're pretty sure is Homo erectus mixed in with a whole lot of different skulls from supposedly different times that are supposed to be so far apart from each other, just mixed in with each other. Because we know things grew bigger in the past, right? So I'm thinking some of these skulls that they've got are not actually what they say they are. They're the same genus, but maybe a young whatever. I don't know, maybe a young ape of some type. But all I know is when you look at an orangutan, a full-grown orangutan skull, and then an infant orangutan skull, you'll be really surprised because their face isn't grown out and pushed right out yet. When they're at the infant stage, their muzzle is right back in close to the face, like it looks like some of the hominid skulls that I've seen. And I looked at that skull and I thought, man, I'd love to get those hominid skulls, and I am going to do this. I'll get screenshots and put them together to see if they look, similar sort of thing. So, awesome. Yeah, I think it's possible that maybe that some of these things that they think a thing might just be something, completely different, or a baby ape or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, remember when at the beginning they were like, what kind is a myosin? The picture that you're looking at, and when you hit play and it scrolls back more, you can see a skull of living myosins today that look identical. They haven't even changed much.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Stasis. When they say that these things split off and they one line diverged off into another line and one stayed the same and one evolved. It's pure imagination. It's all imagination. There is no evidence to back that up at all.
Yeah. And they also make it unfalsifiable, like where it's like, how could you even prove or disprove such a thing? And I think that's another issue with evolution. It's you're putting into the realm of mythology almost, to where you can't even disprove it or prove it. But here's another thing. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Life, as you go back in time, it gets more pristine, healthier, bigger, longer lasting, and it's just we see a decline. It's just everything's declining now. I don't see anything that's evolving into more healthier, pristine life.
Everything is declining and getting smaller, dumber, and weaker.
Yeah, exactly.
You think about this, that little bone thing that you've got. Just quickly, I'll say this, man. I won't go on for ages. Sorry, but that little bone image you've got, that the Neanderthals made a little pendant, and it's a little like something you'd hang around your neck. And it's got a hole through the middle of it. And it's got a deer, like with its legs fully extended on one side, and the other side, it's got the legs up in the air. Where, how we got high-speed cameras today, we can tell that when a horse is galloping or a deer is galloping and running, that at one point in a split second, that all their feet are hovering off the ground at once, right? Well, Neanderthals must have had exceptional eyesight to be able to see that and to draw that and then put it onto a little pendant. When you twirl the pendant around, it makes it look like it's running. That's the first movies.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway.
That's pretty cool. Sorry. They also had extremely good eyesight because they actually found pendants that were made as well that were so intricate that we can't actually detect it with our eyes. Only under a microscope can you see the detail. Wow. So that's pretty incredible as well. You can find that in our book, The Falsification of Evolutionism. But
basically proves their brains work faster than ours. If they can see things that are happening so quickly, like an animal running like that, and they can draw it. Well, they didn't have high-speed cameras, any cameras back then. So for them to be able to see that and draw that almost perfectly, like, in the running position with all its feet off the ground at once, then that just proves their minds worked their brains worked much faster than ours, and probably means they had much, much larger IQs.
Yeah, but I've actually passed some citation on to SFT on this, that the IQ is declining, and it's from thousands of years ago. They can test that, and they found out that the IQ is going down there. So good point.
Oh yeah, because brain size correlated to IQ, right? So our brain size is shrinking, and we're just getting dumber. So that's it. That's it.
That's
Well,
right. I'm
check
dumber
this
than
out.
my mother, and my mother's dumber than her mother.
What's funny is they say that evolution is survival of the fittest. So it's always going to try to do what's best for the animal. So what's good is about an animal shrinking is that it's better for it because now it can hide better. I'm like, so you're telling me that a 6,000-pound sloth decided to become 5 pounds that can be killed by basically anything, because we know it doesn't move faster. It's a sloth. It's exactly the same sloth that existed in the past, except for now it can get killed by anything.
They're identical.
Yeah.
They're identical, just one's gigantic and the other's smaller. They look identical. So, and they give them a different genus.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's shrinking. Of course it's getting worse. You don't even have to presume that it's not. But they think that, evolution can do anything, so getting smaller is always better. No, always
and
better.
They always present like when I'm arguing with them, I say, well, give me some examples of evolution. And when they give examples of evolution, they're saying, well, look, in the past, this had this and now it doesn't have it. And they'll give you like a whole list of all these different animals that used to have things in the past that now that they've lost these things, and they present that as evidence of evolution. That's evidence of genetic entropy, that they're losing things.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to show this some citation because atheists probably will just shrug it off and say it's a bunch of BS. Well, I'm forced now. I mean, like, you're almost forced these days to actually prove what you have to say with citation. So I'm pulling it up right now with the IQ. I mean, that's just one example of things going down. And that's my whole point. I mean, that's the whole point of this, too, is we're trying to give a lesson to these internet evolutionists. Like, there's, like, why don't you just, like, humble yourself a little bit and have some humility and accept what's really happening with what's in reality.
Nice.
Yeah, they always do that. They act as if they know everything, and they talk so matter of fact, like everything is a fact. But then when they, when they get backed into a corner of something they don't know, then I'm not a scientist. I don't know, like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I love that one. It's like, wait a minute, why are you debating on the topic then? Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
they all use it too. Every one of them.
I know they do. Everyone that's debated standing and you was always when they've been back in the corner, they've done that. It's funny to watch.
Gosh, I have a lot of genetic entropy stuff. I have so much I can't even freaking find it.
Oh my god.
Hold on, here it is. I got it, I think.
Yeah, well, while you're looking for that, I want people to go out now to go on their computer and add in, and Google or internet search. Oh, I've got an echo. Can you hear the echo?
You're echoing hardcore for me anyway.
Yeah, I'm echoing.
I don't hear any echo.
Really? I heard it bad. We'll ask the audience. I'll keep an eye on chat, see what they say.
Yeah, I can hear that echoing and.
Oh, la 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 la. I just have to find it. It's tech or something.
What is it about genetic entropy?
Yeah, it's with the IQ, and I think I've sent it to you guys, and like all of a sudden it just disappears.
I have it. I have everything. I'll find it in 1 second.
I want people to go and have a look at orangutan skull. Have a look at a fully developed adult skull, and have a look at an infant orangutan skull. It's shocking how different they look. If you found those two things in the fossil record, there's no way you'd think that one was related to the other.
Ah, here it is. It's Trends in Genetics, and here it is. Genetic entropy of the human intellect. So this is published. This is a peer review. Look at the DOI. So this is for your evolutionists that claim that we don't have any evidence for intelligent design slash. I mean, of course, intelligent design would flow with creation. So I'll put those two together. But I don't like using creation because that's a Genesis doctrine. But as you can see right here, there it is. Trends in genetics, genetic entropy in the human intellect. That's unavoidable evidence right there for genetic entropy, what SFT always talks about. And Ron Matt.
Yeah, exactly. It's in our books. I have an entire section.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just in case there's anybody watching, when we say genetic entropy fits with the Bible, what we mean is that at Adam's fall, when God said to Adam, if you eat from that tree, you shall surely die. Well, Adam ate from the tree, and when God cursed Adam and the ground, a man and the ground that he walks on, well, that's when genetic entropy and death first entered the world. The beginning of death. Adam died like 900 years or 800 or whatever years later after that. But that's basically when genetic entropy. So that fits in with the biblical, with the creationist worldview sort of thing of the Bible, and yeah,
exactly. That's why we call it our model.
Sorry.
Did you have something to add there, Matt, before we get going here? Because I'll get playing their video here.
No, let's get back to it.
So anyway, we're slogging along on that. I'm knee deep in Polystrate fossils, the section that Jackson wrote on that. And
ooh, sweet. What is there? I see A, B, and C.
He's basically saying that he's knee deep in debunking polystrata trees. So he's trying to show that polystrate trees in the fossil geologic column aren't proof that the trees were growing for millions of years old, and it's not a proof of a global flood. It's just happened that these trees fell there. So
the thing is with that, Matt, before I forget, they tested with each volcanic eruption, and I know this to be a scientific fact. This is a fact. With each volcanic eruption, if the volcanic eruptions are a few months apart, they have a different chemical signature. And what they did with that picture that you'll see later on, I don't know if you already showed the picture of that mountain with all the different trees buried in it from top to bottom. When they tested that from the top to the bottom, they were chemically the chemical signature was identical. So if it was different volcanic eruptions, because I think there's a lot of volcanic stuff mixed in with that particular, or it's either that one or another one. But if it was different eruptions that build up those layers over millions of years or even thousands of years, if each eruption was just a few months apart, they'd have a completely different chemical signature. So, and they have the exact same chemical signature from the very bottom to the very top. And I saw a scientist say that. So,
and that's great news, because that same layer has multiple diversity of petrified trees coming from forest and tropical rainforest, and there's no way that such diversity would be found in one place, because obviously tropical trees don't grow next to redwood trees on Earth, right? So there's a reason that all these trees are here. So basically the picture that everybody's looking at is how polystrate fossils form. They form in floods. Basically what you're looking at on the top is a pile of wood, and as the trees start to sink down, they land in different layers of mud. And as the mud goes up, the trees stay buried, and then they fossilize. And so we're seeing layers. So go ahead and hit play. Let people see the next one, because the next one's really good.
That's incredible. I see that. Yeah, I can see that's all has everything to do with the flood there.
Yeah, it's a total flood. There's no possible way this is something that trees don't live for hundreds of thousands of years. And they're not going to be in rock layers that are supposedly millions of years old with one tree growing in between them. There's no way. This is only flood.
Yeah, it's mixed in. The volcanic materials mixed in with the mud because there was volcanic activity going on at the time.
Right. So what everybody's looking at now is specimen ridge. That's the 27 layers that they've claimed are millions and millions of years old.
Oh, no way.
But they've never found any animals there. So if those are trees and if those are environments, trees don't live in environments with no animals and no animal life. Trees are always where there's life around. So why would they only find trees and no animals unless a flood deposited these layers?
And why would they find the same chemical signature at the bottom as at the top when it should be different chemical signatures all the way up?
Exactly. It's obvious. It's obvious. It's very clear. But, that's to them, they believe that this is millions of years old, and it's better proof of that. I don't know where they come up with this.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Go ahead and hit play. We'll keep going. There's only a couple more pictures in this area that I want people to see.
It goes quiet for a while, praise, so.
Yeah, I was expecting to talk during this. Sorry. Okay, everybody can see this picture. You don't have to pause it. You can keep going. But that tree right there in the front is dated younger than the ones below it. So basically, the tree at the top is the upper layer, considered by evolutionists to be millions of years older than the two petrified trees you see below it. Yet they're the same type of tree. And so again, no animals been discovered anywhere near them. They
in that time.
Yeah. So how could these trees on millions of years upper layer be younger trees than the ones below them? It makes no logical sense. Therefore, it's not true.
I didn't know that. That's really good information. We'll remember that.
Yeah. So basically, this was the last thing for some people to read if they wanted to. Basically, it's talking about all the different trees and diversity of life when it shouldn't be like that. There's rainforest trees, desert plants, I should say, and fruiting trees and tropical trees, and nothing makes any sense in specimen ridge. So,
yeah, I can see what you're talking about there.
And they're all mixed up together from top to bottom, right?
That's right. Exactly. All the way. All like 30 to 50 layers. All of them.
There's no way that happened. There's no way that happened over millions of years. They're all mixed up together, just that alone.
That whole bit about mutation rate thing.
All right, so now we're here at mutation rate with RJ.
That whole bit about mutation rate thing is extremely relevant because it's measuring what can go on at that base level. Now, of course, the bacteria didn't turn into an elephant or a rhododendron.
Should have.
It didn't grow legs. It didn't turn into a bird. Of course not. They weren't trying to. It didn't even form a new species.
Yeah. Then I show the study which said that there was no speciation event. I highlighted it for people to see. And the bacteria didn't even speciate to other bacteria. We're not saying that the bacteria had to grow into an elephant. That's absurd. We want the first stages of bacteria becoming anything different. Anything. We'll take anything.
Specimen Ridge.
Right.
You mean the fossilized bacteria they found at Specimen Ridge were all the same?
Oh no, they're talking about the Linsky experiment now. They're talking about they jumped into mutation rates. So they're saying that mutation rates are very important, and they also are important for bacteria. And we use the observed rates, right? The trio studies. They use the phylogeny studies. So their mutation rates are all across the board. We know they're wrong because they're assumption based. But they're trying to say that the mutation rates should tell us that bacteria should be able to mutate and speciate. And they're trying to make fun of like, oh, well, bacteria, of course they're not going to become elephants because they're not programmed to become elephants. Well, no kidding. But
the amount of generations that they've had, that it's equivalent to 1.5 million years, I think, of human evolution. And what did they say a human looked like 1.5 million years ago? Yet they've done the equivalent of 1.5 million years of human evolution with the amount of, because bacteria have 10 generations every day. those E. coli have 10 generations every day. So they've been doing it now for 30 years.
Right. Super long. And the bacteria aren't doing what's required for evolution to actually work. It's going the other direction. So you would think one of these particular bacteria, because remember, in experiments, they can do anything. They can change the pH, they can change the temperature, they can change the diet. They've done all these things. They've irradiated. They've done everything they can to try to make mutations. And they've basically done everything they can to force evolution to occur. The fitness goes down. Everything goes the other direction. They need it to go one way, and it doesn't. They don't even speciate. So how is this proving their point? It's not. They just don't know that because they're too busy trying to mock us, saying, the bacteria didn't become an elephant. Well, no kidding. We're looking for even a single anatomical feature change. Any physiological change would be proving evolution to us. Let's take any change. You know what I mean? Like where's like the new extra rib in human beings, or the extra spinal column ridge,
right? Or genotype, right? We want to see another type of genotype.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But they can't supply it, right? They can't do it, so therefore it's gonna remain in the realm of mythology. But go ahead and hit play. It's almost over. It's going to go real fast now for people.
You're like a freaking research ninja with science. It's pretty awesome. And then I've seen one way is the research ninja with theology.
We're all about it, man. If Standing for Truth didn't have a job, we would be killing these people.
Yeah, I can see that. Hold on, let me get this back. Here we go. Yeah, I'm playing right now. Oh, yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to tell you they're up to 109,500 plus generations, which equals 2,737,500 years of human evolution, equivalent to.
Oh, gosh.
And just think, humans supposedly have come down from Neanderthal just 40,000 years ago. Right?
That's almost 3 million years of human evolution that they're currently up to, and that the 3 million years ago we would have been, according to them, like Lucy, like an ape sort of thing,
right?
More like an ape. And yet these bacteria kind of.
Shouldn't we be turning into transitioning into some type of other human now that's more complex and more advanced? We're not doing that. There's nothing progressing. There's nothing progressing in humans. We're dying.
Oh, it's even worse. It's what I tell people is, you're telling me that we've lost every single physiological beneficial adaptation that's in an ape. We've lost our strength. We've lost our DNA methylation factor, which makes apes not get cancer or AIDS. They can live their entire life with HIV and AIDS, and it will never affect them, ever. We've lost our ability to be in the sun because we sunburn. They don't. They whisk away temperature, no problem. They don't need clothes. They don't get cold. They can live in the snow or they can live in the tropics. It doesn't matter. They're better in every single way. They can walk around barefoot, not get parasites. They can eat anything raw. They can walk up to a tree. I dare any human to walk outside and grab a tree limb and start eating leaves. You're going to feel sick in no time. You'd have to cook it at all to break it down. Literally everything about us is worthless. You know what I mean? Everything compared to a primate. So it's crazy.
Yeah, our genome is going downwards pretty bad, spiraling downwards. I don't know how many diseases, what do they call though? Degenerative diseases. I mean, we're getting just thousands of, I think you said 6,000 a day, and I thought there was only 6,000. I thought that was a lot just for, gosh.
Total. Yeah, you probably thought that was a lot total.
I did. I was thinking, well, wow, 6,000. Should natural selection be weeding these out and getting rid of these? It's not.
Right. It's not at all. The genetic database has an annual growth of 24,000 new mutations added every single year.
Gosh, that's just and that's probably why that there's like Kondrashov. He says, why hasn't humans died like 100 times over or something? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense in their thing when they're looking at the numbers. So they have to come up with rescuing devices to get through it, because the observable rates discount evolution. It falsifies it entirely.
Yeah.
How do you explain the fact that ERVs, or dead viruses, are in the same exact places in humans and chimps, but not other species?
So good question. Regarding ERVs, it comes down to the fact that are they really the result of ancient viruses? Because now we know that the evidence suggests that these endogenous retroviruses and these retrotransposons, for example, they're indeed functional, and not just functional, not just low levels of function, but these endogenous retroviruses, they have crucial functions. They help regulate genes and even determine cell types. So like I said earlier, the evolutionist now has to claim that they were co-opted, but that is just more fancy storytelling. So these are important DNA elements, just as we'd predict based on created genetic diversity. How much of the genome, both non-coding and protein coding, would you say is functional on, say, a percentage level?
I don't know, but I don't think it's relevant to what I'm saying.
Well, no, I believe it is, because from my understanding and from the literature that I've looked into and read, the evolutionary community, and I've actually debated many different scientists, Dr. Stephan Frello, for example, who's well known in this controversy, they will say the genome can't be any more than, and we're talking about regulatory elements as well, like you're talking about, any more than 15%, maybe max 20% functional. But we're saying based on this created heterozygosity model, nearly the entire genome is functional. Therefore, what you said about fitting all of that in the genome, for example, I think that that's based on an evolutionary assumption that the majority of the genome is based on evolutionary leftovers, genomic fossils, right? The pseudogenes, for example, the endogenous retroviruses. I mean, it was Richard Dawkins who said that 95% of the genome may as well not even be there, you know, all the parasites and things that are infested in the genome. But we now know that that is just completely false. I mean, paper after paper. I mean, are you aware of even these endogenous retroviruses that are shared among like humans and primates and is used as evidence for universal common ancestry? Are you aware of the accumulating evidence suggesting that they're incredibly important in the regulation of genes and determining cell types? I mean, just more and more function every day. It's amazing, actually. I love it.
If you have, like I was mentioning earlier, the read-through through stop codons they'll produce different variants of proteins that have different terminal ends, and some of those may be lethal, and so they're non-starters. They get selected out, but you have enough different variants that as soon as the selective pressures become enough, and you get enough of these buildup, this capacitance of these swaths of structural variants, then they can be selected for. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. What was the last thing you said? Sorry.
Well, just about the endogenous retrovirus, I do want to say, because I noted that you said that they were co-opted, but to be honest with you, I have to say that that's just nothing more than mere uninformative gloss, and I'll tell you why. Because the evidence shows that these endogenous retroviruses are incredibly functional, right? They have crucial functions that help regulate genes. They even help to determine cell types. So the evolutionists, and I read through these papers.
It's not a problem. It's a universal code.
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, far from being junk DNA, as evolutionists have always assumed, right? Richard Dawkins, for example, have always assumed that 95% of the genome may as well not even be there. Now we know that the pervasive retrotransposons, the ERVs, for example, that populate our genome, they have a powerful capacity to influence genes and chromatin. So now the evolutionists, I'll read through these papers, and they go through all these various functions that are being discovered, and they always end it with, okay, these functions were co-opted. But these functions were not observed to be co-opted. And I challenge you to provide a paper afterwards that show an endogenous retrovirus going from non-functional to suddenly incredibly functional in embryological development. It's just not there. That's the evolutionist rescue device to explain away the evidence in the functionality of the genome. So, I mean, if you have some papers that show these DNA elements, the co-option actually occurring empirically, then you may have an argument there. But I've never actually seen that demonstrated in these papers. Do you have any evidence suggesting they're actually co-opted other than just saying they're co-opted?
No, I'd have to. I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, I got this certain paper in mind that I'm going to produce, but it's not. It's not. I don't see any problem with it. I mean, you could have an ERV occur in a regulatory region that would affect, say, the production of like BMP, bone morphological protein, which would like inhibit certain developmental pathways, which could be lethal, but it could also create variation that could lead to some novelty as well, and therefore that sequence that was where this ERV was kind of spliced in could then have some sort of new novel function within the genome. I mean, it's all the same base pairs, it's universal code, so I don't see any problem with these things being co-opted. Like it's not, there's no contradiction there. There's nothing logically impossible about it.
Right. I'm just saying that it's my position that because I read the literature, right? I read these papers on the functions of these, say, transposable elements, for example. I mean, they really are a incredible and important source. They're tightly regulated, they're biochemically active, and they are non-coding elements. I mean, this is a direct prediction based on the pre-existing heterozygosity hypothesis, suggesting that the vast majority of our DNA differences, the vast majority of our DNA elements are incredibly functional. I mean, they function in the transcription factor binding sites and in non-coding RNAs. And I understand that you may have a story, because I noticed a few words you said, like they could have, or maybe this, or maybe that. There's just, and I challenge it, even anybody listening in the audience, provide me a paper that shows a non-functional transposable element or a non-functional endogenous retrovirus suddenly going from the non-function to something that's incredibly important in, embryological development or immune response.
Well, I think you're also not realizing when you're talking about function, you kind of seem to have this black and white, like function, non-function, doing something important, not doing something important. But it's much more complicated than that. Genes have variations in the amount of their expression. So you could have a transposable element that does nothing at first, but then it can accumulate some mutations over time. It's cryptic variation that can be then selected for, and it can have some very minimal level of expression that has some sort of function relative to the environment. It's different degrees of function.
Well, and I understand that that's the evolutionary story and that's what you believe, but I definitely don't want to believe it is a story because these very important functional roles in these DNA elements, the evolutionists just said they were co-opted. That's nothing more than storytelling.
So the definition is a little squishier when you get into that level on. But we have a dentary bone shaped the way we do because 250 million years ago, our ancestors were insectivores.
The survey said.
That's hilarious.
I love that one.
Me too. That's good stuff.
Hit play so everyone can see what an insectivore is. So they know that we're talking about moles and rodents and hedgehogs. Those are everybody. That's your great grandpa.
Yeah, you're welcome to believe that. Just don't, like what Ken Hovind would say, just don't teach this crap in schools to our children. I mean, children don't need to be told that you were this, that your great ancestors were this. To me, that's mental abuse.
He said our teeth are basically the way that our mouth is shaped is the way that it is because that's our great grandpa right there. That's why. That's why our teeth are shaped the way they are. And he said it with a fact. A 250 million years ago, did you hear what he said? 250 million years ago, that was our relative. And that's why we have teeth like we do today. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I would say that
Insane.
is mythology, man. That is mythology.
Yeah. Hit play. Let people see the next picture. That's her grandpa. Come on up.
Grandpa.
I'm a BA in history. I'm not a scientist. I don't have credentials in that department.
Then shut the hell up if you don't have credentials in that department. RJ
Isn't that
Downard.
awesome?
Hold on, I'm gonna listen to this again. This was perfect.
I'm a BA in history. I'm not a scientist. I don't have credentials in that department.
Great stuff, man. That was great stuff.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So he's willing to argue on you and debate against something, and then the second you go for, hey, check this out, let's talk about mitochondrial DNA rates. You go, I'm not a biologist. That's not my specialty. Oh, yeah, okay. So on your channel, you'll talk about it, just like R and Raw will talk about anything on his. But when you want to say, hey, let's debate, he'll go, oh, I don't debate on that. I only debate about things I know about, like phylogeny. Oh, so it's pick and choose. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance. But yeah, I mean, you'll see how credulous internet evolutionists are. I think this is a great example. But if you actually talk and converse with real biologists and real scientists, they're not this credulous about evolution. I mean, they hold back. They can only give you what the data says, and they can't formulate any type of philosophy or any type of real life. They can't apply that to any real life things. And I think that's where internet evolutionists the level they need to go at. And they're very arrogant, and it's a bunch of grandiosity with these internet evolutionists. And then they mock Christianity and then also intelligent design. In fact, during that, and this is all I want to show in this debate, that this RJ Downer was like making fun of intelligent design. And there's a comment that I want you to respond to, Raw Matt, when he's saying that I would never worship a god that would create these type of bees or something that would lay eggs or something in people or whatever. So I want you to respond to that. Yeah.
You mean, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
well,
no problem.
Sorry,
What
man.
happens in an environment that has been destabilized? What happens when chaos enters something, right? It says that creation was perfect, and then discord occurred at the fall. So here's a perfect example. Bacteria are designed to eat flesh and to break things down. There's tons in the ocean. That's why the ocean has such high enzymatic factor. But let's say that an elephant died in your room. It would take a long time because it would require a lot of bacteria, but eventually the bacteria would eat that elephant till there's nothing left except for bones in your room. Of course, it would take months and months and months to happen, but it would. So that's what bacteria are designed to do. Now, all of a sudden, let's say that you take a plastic bottle and you throw it in the environment. Well, that same bacteria that's designed to eat that elephant to degrade it now comes along and tries to eat that plastic bottle, and it can't do it. It's never seen the substance before. So it mutates to try to do its job. And that's where we get things like flesh-eating bacteria. So now people are blaming God that there's flesh-eating bacteria when mankind created it. So they do the same thing with a lot of things in nature. They look around and they see something that's harmful and they go, well, why would God have created that harmful thing? It's kind of like you don't understand what's going on. A lot of these things have mutated from their natural good beginnings and their natural state, and they've mutated into a harmful state because they've had to. So things get violent. Have you ever heard about when an animal tastes blood? They go, oh, it's tasted blood, and now you have to put it down because it wants more blood. Lions do that, right? They go, it tasted blood, and they put it down because it becomes violent. You can change something's demeanor by changing its diet. Well, the same thing. If you want a violent animal, feed it meat. It'll become very violent. You want to make it docile, you feed it plants. So what happens after generation of animals consuming other flesh of animals, right? Because of migration and travel, well, they become more violent and they become worse. And now people go, I can't believe God would allow such violence. Well, you don't understand. That's our fault. He said, because of you, the earth is cursed in Genesis.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. But I think he was talking about some type of wasp. And this wasp is like, he said he called it like a computer engineered type of intelligence or something, which I thought even to me even was bordering along intelligent design for something to be considered some type of like programmed insect or something like that. But he was saying because this beast, I'll let you listen to it. But that's yeah. I think that goes along with what you said though. Anyway, so I'll keep playing it here.
Okay, I'll talk about it more too. Standing for Truth needs to read this one.
The writing's really small on my screen, so I can't read it. I'd love to read it. That's so funny.
Go ahead and hit play. I'll tell everybody. This is speed of sound and gravity. He's saying this was 4 weeks ago, by the way, 4 weeks, a month ago. He said all of the chromosome 2 bunking nonsense is from creationists. They don't know anything about satellite. He does. 4 weeks ago, he said that. Now, 2 weeks ago, he debated standing for truth. 2 weeks ago, here's what he said.
By some satellite DNA stuff that he brought up during the last debate I did with him.
He got blindsided by it, he said. Blindsided? A month ago, he said he knew all about it.
Oh my god! He find everything.
He got
That's
caught
great
again.
Stuff.
He got caught again. He's exactly the same thing he did last time about the books. Remember? He said, "Oh man, you know, Jensen's book is a pile of trash," and then later he comes out, he read it.
Yeah,
Who said that?
Jensen's book's a pile of trash, but I haven't read it. He said,
"Yeah, exactly,
just like that."
Was it the
Just
same
like
guy
this.
who said that?
Yep, he said it
my-
exactly in that order.
That's just
Jensen's book is a
embarrassing, man.
pile of
That's
trash, but I
brutal.
haven't read it. I know,
Brutal.
it's funny.
Go ahead, play it some more. Then I might replay it."
I kind of got blindsided by some satellite DNA stuff that he brought up during the last debate I did with him.
Evolution caught again. Standing for truth. Nice.
Busted, buddies. Busted. And you can thank Jason for that find. That gem came from him.
Nice, Jason.
Yeah. He found that one.
That's not true.
I want to see a
Oh, here's Tom Jump, the other one. He's the other special village atheist.
This is him debating standing for truth. Watch this contradiction right here.
The technical data helps you. None of the technical data helps you. The more stuff you say about technical data, just all stuff that proves you wrong. Why are you asking me? Ask a biologist. Stop asking me about technical biology questions. Go ask a biologist.
I just see this contradiction there. That's exactly how he argues too. It's like he's like a little kid. It's like with atheists, it's like little kids arguing against little kids.
Yeah.
Crazy, y'all.
That was perfect. You got him right there. All the literature says I know all the literature and I know what it says, but then when you confront him, I ain't no biologist.
Yeah, why
How
are
would
you
I
asking
know?
me?
That is so funny. That is great stuff.
Well, why are you debating on biology in the first place if you're going to fall back to that position?
Tom Jump exposed for the Dunning-Kruger.
You can thank Jason again for that one.
How
Here,
much
play.
percentage-wise
He does it more.
do you
Oh, Mike, this is awesome.
think or predict is functional?
Why are you asking me? Ask a biologist. Stop asking me about technical biology questions. Go ask a biologist. Standing. All of the technical data proves you wrong. Why are you asking me? Ask a biologist. Stop asking me about technical biology questions. Go ask a biologist.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he says that first. First, he says all the technical data proves you wrong, and then not long after that, he says, "Why are you asking me? Ask a biologist. I don't know anything about that."
Yeah.
How can he know that the technical data proved him wrong if later on he admits he doesn't know anything about it?
Yeah, this is the same guy that says always. This is like his go-to saying is all the data says. I mean, the consensus says this. Like, you're wrong. The consensus says this. Like, that's just one of his one of his remarks that he just comes to. Like he just his go-to remarks.
Yeah, because he's used to debating, and he knows nobody can pull up the data. to show the audience real quick. So he can just say, no, it doesn't. And he knows you're screwed because you don't have it on hand to show, right? It's just a debate. So he's just throwing words out. He can just say whatever. Like literally he contradicts him. This is the same debate. I just clipped it together. Like he says it 10 minutes earlier, like all the data proves you wrong. And then 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, he goes, well, I don't know about any of the data. You go ask a biologist. So he contradicts himself by later in the debate because it helps him during that moment of the debate. See what I mean?
Yeah. And this is what he did against me in my debate.
And if you haven't got a very good memory, don't lie. I mean, don't lie anyway, but to be a liar, you need a good memory, and they always drop themselves in it. And I'm very careful what I say, usually. When it comes to the internet or when I debate them, I'm very careful. And none of them, when I first started, they used to throw citation after citation after citation link at me. And that's when they knew I didn't know that much. But when I started to learn more and more, well, I started every citation link they'd throw at me, I'd go through it and I'd pick out all the bits and pieces. I'd say, well, this means this and that means that. And that's going against what you're saying and blah, blah. So now anybody that knows me or any of them that debate me that know me, they will not give me a citation link. I keep asking them and they just won't do it because every citation link they've ever given me always ends up supporting our position.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you see he's a con artist now? Like, that's his whole routine. That's his whole scheme, is just to tell people that the consensus says something because they know they can't check it at that moment. And you know how many followers follow this con artist here? I mean, he has
that's another thing. They talk on their channel as if it's 100% fact and it's been proven by science. And you know, it makes me so angry when I watch their videos. I sit there steaming mad. That's why I get in the comment section. I go off my head. Google are targeting me now, and every time, or YouTube is owned by Google, but every time I can't say I have to be very careful what I say now. My comments get deleted, and some of them just get deleted anyway, without even saying anything bad. But they do that a lot. They do that a lot in their channels. They talk. The way they talk is it's absolute 100% fact that this has all been worked out. That's the way they come across. But then when they get talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about and understands the real science behind it and understands the data, then they change their tune very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right, Praise. The T-Jump is very popular. He is one of the most popular atheist guys right now on the channels.
But
because of debating.
Yeah, I did debate him. He did the same tactics versus me. He says the consensus on the Tower of Babel say that this is a false thing. And cite it, please. And he won't cite crap. But I hope people came. I'm glad this boy, man, that is awesome what you did tonight, because people can see what he really is. He's a con artist. He's a fake. I don't know how else to put it. The same thing with these other atheists too, like Skylar, Josh. Gosh, what's the Josh Hammurabi again? But it's Digital Hammurabi. You have T-Jumps. You got them all. Godless Engineer. I exposed him the other night. He's a fraud too and a con artist. And they have to be.
The citation that their own scientists make. That's the worst enemy to them. That's why they won't post citation links. Because anybody that knows what they're talking about, when they look at the citation, they can show just how ridiculous it is what they believe, that it's pure and utter, imagination. They go, oh, well, anyway, I won't get into that. I was just going to start in the ape DNA, but I won't bring that up. We'll keep going on with this.
Great video, man. That was awesome. So I'll play the end of it. But I'm going to play some other stuff with RJ Downward in the modern day debate with that intelligent. I thought that was a good debate by the intelligent design guy, but RJ kept on trying to divert the argument to. He kept on saying, "Well, you're going to at the beginning of our origins," and I don't think that was this. He made it clear he's not doing that. But he says ultimately it comes down to that, because I mean that's one of the most provable things that we can show creation is the origin. But I'm gonna play the rest here. Here we go.
None of the technical data helps you at all. Why are you asking me? Ask it a biologist. Stop asking me about technical biology questions.
Con artist.
Go ask a biologist.
These endogenous
face palm
viruses, they've always stated, should be non-functional evolutionary leftovers. They're based on
No one said that.
retroviral infections
No
in
one
the
said that.
evolutionary history. Now we know that they have crucial functions that help. Let me finish my sentence, please.
He's just denying everything. He's just denying.
Right.
He doesn't have a clue what standing for truth even talking about. He doesn't have the slightest clue. And he's just sitting there. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
That's
no,
what he did to me. Yes, that's his whole shtick and routine.
Yep, that's all he does. He just starts denying when he doesn't have a clue.
And people follow and listen to this guy religiously. He's a nutcase. He's a charlatan, fake, con artist, nut job.
Yep.
I don't know what's to put it, people. This guy, why does he get so much attention for doing this stuff and these antics? These antics he employs. It's complete garb. I mean, it's bullshit what he gets away with.
Fairy tale.
Yeah, well, I mean, could you believe it? He literally is telling Standing for Truth, no, ERVs aren't what he's saying they are. He has never, I bet you he couldn't even pronounce what ERV stands for, endogenous retroviruses. You know what I mean? I bet he doesn't know what they do. Matter of fact, Immutable Destiny was shocked when Speed of Sound told him that ERVs have function. He's all, really? And he's into it. So we know that T-Jump isn't into it. So why in the world would he even know what it is? But yet he's going to tell Standing for Truth, no, he doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, he said the same thing with the Tower of Babel too, or Babel. Some people call it Babel, but I think whatever, you know.
Exactly.
Babel.
So yeah, I'm glad I'm glad he was exposed there, Tom Jump, but also RJ Downard, and he even made it clear he's just an internet enthusiast or evolutionary enthusiast. That's all he is, and people follow him too. He doesn't represent the data.
Yeah, he has a book on evolution.
What?
Yep, he wrote a book on evolution. Him and Jackson Wheat, they have a book.
He doesn't represent the data. The data is actually, you demonstrate the data is contrary to what he claims. He's just a credulous internet evolutionist. That's all we have. And I can say the same thing with Snake is right. The same thing with Emoshicon. I mean, that's all they are, is credulous internet evolutionists that are swayed to atheism.
Mentally under the emoticon.
Yeah, Emoshicon, whatever his name is, yeah.
With the emphasis on con.
So I'm gonna play now. I want to just play some parts here. You guys just weigh in. But there's one part I really want Matt to watch. So here's a debate. It was a couple days ago with. I found this John Maddox. I thought did a fantastic job in the debate. He had some great points, but RJ kept on trying to divert it away and tried.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
this should be good.
I might, because I don't know if you can hear it, so I'm gonna have to put it back on the screen share. So hold on.
Young Earth creationists try to do exactly the same argument. Sanford and that Tompkins over in the Young Earth creationist camp tried the same thing. And the problem is that when it comes push to shove, they can't clarify what it means. So let's take a concrete example. The alus in our genome. We've got 1.4 million of them in our genome. 10% of our genome is just ALU retrotransposons. Do you claim that those all contain the same genetic information or not?
The same, or the
no, that to me just sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, and I think he's trying to pull one over on John Maddox. Is that what he's trying to do here, Matt? That's what I get out of that.
It sounded like he's throwing a curveball at him to see if he knows what ALUs are, or maybe test his scientific knowledge based on now he can take the debate a certain way, kind of like feeling out the water. If I get in the ring with somebody and I throw a kick and they don't block it, I know I'm going to be throwing a lot of kicks that fight. You know what I mean? You pick apart their weakness.
Yeah, so I think he's trying to, like, it's just like how a boxer punches and and how they fight and stuff. Like, he's trying to feel him out so where he can try to attack exactly what you just said there. He's not interested in having a real honest debate about intelligent design and evolution. So if he's trying these tactics, then RJ's another, just like Tom Jump. They're con artists. So I'll keep on playing.
They are the same, like basically copies of the sequences.
Oh, that's the whole issue of what a copy does. Do you claim that most of the ALUs or any of the ALUs were deliberately designed to be there?
Yeah, actually I do.
All of them?
At this point, there may be some that are modified, but no, I would wager
all the
that
diseases,
based on the information
all
and the
the
research
various
that I've done, then
diseases that are,
hang on. Let me finish the point I'm making here. Because you're really going towards the redundancy aspect, right?
No, I'm trying to find out whether information means anything when it relates to actual DNA.
I'm asking specifically in regards to what you are referring to.
Mm-hmm.
What
I'm guessing my claim is both needed and has
DNA.
What are we saying there, Jason?
An idiot. He says, I'm trying to find out if DNA actually means anything when it relates to DNA. Well, it can be read forwards and backwards. It's one of the most complex languages in the universe. And they're always just trying to say what he means by that is that when you have a mutation, it gets scrambled. And even evolutionist scientists call that a deletion. Whereas with so what he's trying to say is with that scrambling into gobbledygook, that it actually just means something because the rest of it doesn't really. What does it really mean anyway? You know, you'll never get War and Peace if you get all the letters out of War and Peace and cut them up individually and put them into a barrel and mix them around. You're never going to get it to form back into War and Peace again. So once the genome's scrambled, once the information's scrambled, that's it, gone.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And they try to say that scrambling is what leads to better things, whereas it just leads to cancer and asthma and all the different types of cancers and mutations, all the sicknesses that we get. Most of them are mutations.
Yep. Good point. So these are just internet zealots. Evolution zealots, and this is what we're coming. They'll always over exaggerate what's going on with in science data, scientific data. So don't go. If people are really trying to follow these people, at least try to be objective and hear both sides. Seriously, I'm not even talking, because I'm sure creationists already know that, because I don't have to talk to them. I'm talking to, like, the agnostics. Like, they don't know, whether evolution or intelligent design or whatever. They're trying to fill it out. I'm talking to those people. As you can see that RJ Downer and all these other internet evolutionists, they are zealots. And you're going to have to find out the data from both sides. So, that's all I recommend.
Exactly. I think that people have a tendency to not really grasp our model, because every single person I've watched people get debate, they don't understand the creation model whatsoever. And there are some terms that might be vague. But then again, so is the word evolution. Evolution is an umbrella term. It means many different things. Just like the word information is also an umbrella term. We use it to refer to the genome. Evolutionists keep asking us, what is information? Prove genetic entropy. Okay, I'll do that right now for everybody. Ready? There's one thing that's not shared among people: deletions. You see, God made and created a design, a backup of our genome. That way, if one of ours, let's say that from our father's side, breaks, the mother's side will keep us alive. So one of you listening to me right now has maybe missing over 100 million base pairs of DNA from your genome in different pieces that have been deleted throughout time. Interestingly, though, these deletions are not shared among populations because they break or decay at random. Most of the diversity is shared among populations, but the diversity of deletions are not, meaning 1, they're new errors, 2, they're post-Babel, and 3, the human genome is falling apart. Therefore, genetic entropy is an observable fact.
Exactly.
That simple.
And I would argue these other things too, like irreducible complexity. I mean, who could really argue that there's like there's like it's irreducible, like life itself, the cell itself. You can't have life without a symbiotic relationship there. I mean, you can't go part by part by part. That is not how biology works. They all have to be simultaneously and working together. And that's another point I want to make too. That's observable science too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not observable. If we don't observe it, then that's not really part of science, because it has to be observable, testable, and repeatable. So much of it falls outside of that category. That's why we don't really like a lot of these assumption-based models. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's all evolution is based on assumptions. Then you have zealots like RJ who really talk about. I mean, I don't even know. I wish Christians would be this zealous with their faith and that outward with their beliefs. And unfortunately, we have atheists are probably more zealous than most Christians with what they believe in, like evolution. I'm not saying all. I'm saying there's a lot of Christians that will be gladly to stand up for Christ and even probably die for him. I mean, that's basically the prerequisite anyway. Because if you're not willing to die for Christ, you're not worthy of him anyway. But I mean, R.J. Downer is just one example of someone who is just so convicted on something that has absolutely no observational proof or evidence of any type of testability, any type of verifiability. It's all assumptions. I mean, and then you have Aaron Raw too. So I mean, who's more grounded in even of things that are justifiable? I would say Christians are with creation, intelligent design. Intelligent design has more empiricism, more empirical facts than evolution will ever even get close to having.
Oh yeah, exactly. They brought up the Linsky experiment earlier. Did you know that the Linsky bacteria have only ever exchanged genes? They've never even created an additional new one. Not one, ever.
Yeah. And even SFT, he's putting models together of heterozygosity and how like through two people we have models that are verifiable. Like that's more than whatever any evolutionist can come up with, because it requires so freaking much time and extrapolation. There's no way you could ever have any type of short model to demonstrate evolution. I'm gonna keep on going though.
Okay.
Code and information in it. Are you saying that it does not?
It doesn't have the information you want it to. All it is a chemical that interacts with other chemicals in various ways. For example, well, first of all, for everybody who doesn't understand what we're talking about here, ALU is an extremely short retrotransposon that has a copy me signal in front of it. And so it says, copy me, copy me, copy me, copy me. And it's adding on about 200 per generation in the human genome. It apparently entered the primates about 60 million years ago and has been ticking along in that lineage ever since. We have escalated.
Now, he brings up primates and something with humans and primates. So is he trying to say these are ERVs or something? Is that his argument?
No, he's talking about the tandem repeats that you find in the codon, and basically you can find them by looking at satellite DNA. You can look at the DNA itself, and you've probably heard of it: A, T, C, and G, the amino acids that make up these repeats. So those are the only ones that there are. So when we look for similarities in something, we look and see what A, T, G, and C, if they line up in certain areas. For example, satellite DNA. If we want to see if something shares satellite DNA, we lay out the satellite DNA down on the table, and we see how much it's correlated between the two. How much is there between chimp and human being, right? So they lay those down, and then they test those. And then if they don't have any matches, whatever, they usually get discarded. So they can be pretty bad studies for the most part. Matter of fact, I'll be talking about that, about the repeat in telomere integrity in the next video, because it's going to be on the telomere fusion.
Sweet, can't wait.
So you'll learn all about it soon.
Yeah, so I get the real science from you guys, so it's actually a blessing, and I wish I had this when I was growing up, like real science. No, it's all storytelling, assumptions, and it's a philosophy. That's all evolutionist is, a philosophy. Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you guys heard this, but there's a quote out by, I'm not sure who it is, but he's been around. His name's been around. I think he's an agnostic, but he said that evolution is a religion. He actually called it a religion. I just forget the guy's name now. And he's actually a biologist.
Yeah, there's a lot that have come out and said exactly what it is. It takes a pure assumption for a lot of these, especially from the root stories that they tell. My gosh.
Yeah, so I'll keep on playing a little bit. And then I'm going to get to the other laughing stock. And he was on Jungle Jargon's channel. And his Red something. Red, I'm going to expose him too. And I think Red was bullied a little bit. But I'm not really saying that either. I'm just saying it was more like internet bully, it's like bully tactics. But see, it's hard to bully Jungle Jargon because he is hard-headed and stuff. So I'm just going to go to that and expose him, little him, and then I'm going to expose this other little pest too with Leviticus 25. I'm going to expose him not because that I have some type of, some type of hatred or whatever against him, some type of animosity. No, I'm doing it for edification purposes, for people to even check for themselves out. So here we go.
Related to the ones that we do have. The vast majority of them do absolutely nothing. And nobody in the intelligent design movement, including Jonathan Wells in his Junk DNA book, ever claims they do or offers any evidence that they do. At most, you've got a relatively small number of them that have become functional. And why have they become functional? Because natural mutation has turned on a start README code, which is not in the original. By changing a single mutation, it makes the registers treat it as a readable item. And because there's so many copies, in most of the cases where this has happened, it's been a problem. It causes diseases because it's causing proteins to misfold. It screws everything.
Where's natural selection, RJ? So much for your stupid natural selection. I'm going to get to the part where I want to show Matt, though, because time's getting, I don't want to go too long, because we can be here for 55 hours if we wanted to.
It's that mathematical modeling that is done in terms of the dynamic fluctuation of genetic systems that act upon selection, even to why punctuated equilibrium is in.
In the context of
trying to get to the point, yeah, you'll hear it.
But anyway, my point is that what the whole point of what they've been figuring out is that, yes, things.
Sustine's taking a swing at you, John. You ready for this one? They said, quote unquote, Google it. Well put, John. You are garbage. John, what do you think about that?
Garbage! Freaking James, the moderator. He needs to get into some debates. I think he's a great debater, actually. No one knows about that.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen some old videos of him. He's actually a very strong debater.
That's cool.
Yeah. James is just cool all the way around.
Well, there's an amazing little software tool called Let Me Google That For You. If you send me your email, I will go and do that for you, so you don't actually have to do it.
Gotcha. I never let it.
I'm trying to find the timestamp because...
Anyway, another question.
6 more. Stupid Horror Energy. Thanks for your other super chat. She said the difference is...
What is it with this stupid horror energy, too? It's all. It's like it's a continuous thing on this show. It's just freaking smart, or what is it? The instant chat or instant chats or whatever. It's all she does with stupid ass stuff.
Yeah, it's a popular name.
Protein.
Yeah. And she does troll a lot, because she trolls me too when I go on. That's okay, that whatever.
The Ctenophora all the way back into the Precambrian, way before the Cambrian explosion, fits in again with the idea that the evolutionary origins of things.
Trying to get it to play. Hold on. It's slow.
Adaptation.
Anyway, get another question. We got to get on.
Next.
Well, actually, there was actually a paper on this whole deal. It had to do with some of the like binding enzymes and what. That the information storage capacity of DNA and the logic based on the individual codon organization, but I displayed evidence that directly countermanded your point on the information transfer process.
Wow, it's like, I hate when you can't find some.
It's immensely more difficult than figuring out Fermat's last theorem, and that took 400 years of mathematics to resolve. So none of that.
Decided to join and become part of a 10.
Does design involve whole organism fields and ecosystems and predator-prey relationships and parasites?
How would you answer that, Matt?
That last part?
Yeah.
What? Play that again.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to you would say.
Okay.
I know of nowhere, anywhere in their literature.
I'm just making a point, is that per you, in this debate, you've tried to blow off why even thinking about it is even relevant to the evolutionary argument. I'm pretty sure that was your position throughout the majority of this debate.
It's the origins or bust cannot get rid of the evidence that you yourself show zero curiosity about.
I actually have a tremendous curiosity about the origin. That's why I've done tons of research.
No, about evolution. You're stuck on origins or bust.
Yeah, because I think knowing how you exist in the first place is kind of the biggest, most important question.
I think it's coming up right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Not where you're going. I don't understand how anybody can actually think of a relevant question.
And by the way, I should put in that question also applies to a young Earth creationist. The whole issue is, does design involve whole organism fields and ecosystems and predator-prey relationships and parasites and all of those little bits and pieces of things? And to be fair, the young Earth creationists don't think about that problem any more than the intelligent designers do.
So, go ahead.
Of course we do. Think about it. Okay, he's basically saying that he's thinking about the food chain. He's looking at it from a very simplistic viewpoint. He's basically saying that without the food chain, what does creation do? Because creation just has life and no death. Therefore, there's no food chain. So as creationists, we don't like to think about that. We just want to have some la fairy tale going on in our mind where there's no death and there's just life being born. So he's trying to say that we don't think about that. Well, of course we have. I mean, we think about it in forms of biology. When we talk about alleles, we would say that the more rare the allele, the more it's mutated. Therefore, it's not a created allele. When we talk about creatures being created, what we do is we have to look at the original creation. Like what was something that we know was created? Well, mankind was created. So how is mankind today? How is mankind in the past? Well, we see degradation, so we see an inferior man. So how about nature? How about when we look all around the planet and we see death and decay, and then we see predators and we see prey? In the beginning, it says that the Bible, in the Bible, it says in the beginning, everything was symbiotic in a better relationship, and then discord happened after. So what happens in a system where there is symbiosis and not discord? When things are like in biodome and the diversity isn't killed off, is there really massive overpopulations of something where they overpopulate more of the area that they're allowed to live in? Take deer, for example. In places like New Zealand, what they do is they take deer and they file their antlers down, and they sell a product called velvet deer antler. Well, it makes them a lot of money. So what they did is they corralled all these deer in this one area, all these males, and they tried to pack as many as they could into the area, because the more they have, the more velvet deer antler they can make. But what happened is the deer were like, their natural instinct was, there's too many of us. So they stopped mating. They wouldn't mate anymore because they already knew that there wasn't enough room for them. So why would they create offspring which would have even less room? So animals are naturally built in, instinctual to have these natural things. So why in the world would original creation have a problem with overpopulation from animals being born and then not dying, when they would know to stop having children, just like a human being would? So that's how I would say it. There isn't a problem looking at the world today, and I would say that we have thought about it. I have.
Great answer. Wow, great answer. If you want to respond to that too, you can, Jason.
No, I'm sorry. I'm making a cup of tea. I'm really tired. That's why I haven't been talking much. But I mean, I don't mind being awake. It's only early. It's just I didn't sleep all that last night. That's all.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
So, another question?
Let's see. The stupid whore energy asks, she says,
the stupid whore energy strikes again.
Abiotic synthesis of RNA is an ongoing project, and progress is being made on several fronts. Journal of American Chemical Association, 2010. Angiochemistry International Edition, 2010. ACS Chemical Biology, 2010. So I think that is for you, John.
Yeah, I'm aware of some of that stuff. I'm also aware of the fact that the Royal Society in the UK...
Time that was true, but we moved on, and they resolved the issue. Uracil seems to be the most interesting one in that it has catalytic processes that...
Chat just by tagging me with a normal chat, and we'll read it for you. Brian Stevens, thank.
Life on the Edge, Darwin's House of Cards.
Understand that there is a difference between a random process and an unexplained or complex process.
Yeah.
Whatever designy things may or may not have occurred in the genome of the earliest organisms, which John can't even.
Yeah, I can't find it right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring this up to you because I have the name of the wasp. And so his argument, hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to pull it up. Because I can't pull it up on the stupid thing, so I have to do it on this way. So it's called the Sphex wasp. It's SPHEX. And so R.J. Danward's argument or criticism against our intelligent is a criticism against intelligent design because according to him, that this wasp is like computer generated to sting people and lay eggs in them, and he thinks that what type of designer would ever design that would be like a tyrannical or a cruel designer, and I would never worship a designer. And I would think, well, this goes into philosophy and such, but here's how I'll let you answer in a second, but I'll answer real quick with me. And I would say that this stems from Genesis 1. God says that we have dominion over the earth and to take over the earth. And that even has a violent context. I understand that the young creationists have their own viewpoint, but I'm just saying that taking over or dominion has like a context. You got to do what you got to do to take dominion over the earth. So I think God gave us a brain for that reason. So I think that complaint doesn't fly.
I would also like to throw in too that the oh, sorry, Jason, go ahead. Oh, I don't hear him. He's muted.
Sorry, it's because of the fall. It's because of the curse. It's
Right.
it's that's why it's like that. That's what they don't understand, and most of these guys, they don't understand that it's not God that did it; it's us that did it. We stuffed up, and now we have to live with the consequences. God laid down the rules, and He can't change. He's not going to chop and change His mind when He sets out the rules. That's it. They're there. We have to follow them, and unfortunately, we all have to live with the curse until the end of time, when the new heaven and the new earth will be made.
And think about it like this, Trace. A wasp laying eggs into your skin or at the skin of an animal isn't going to kill it. It's trying to survive itself, and it's going to look around for a place to lay eggs that's going to be beneficial for the young. And if there's nothing around naturally, it's going to choose a human being. It's going to choose an animal to do it. It's probably not its first choice. Did you know mosquitoes choose to get their nectar from plants? They choose a human only during pregnancy, and it's only the females. Matter of fact, Marlon Brando has an island that you can go to visit and vacation on, and there's no mosquitoes that bite you. The reason why is because they only have male mosquitoes on the island, so there's no females to actually bite you. So if a thing that's a pest is actually not causing you a problem, and if the problem is trivial, like, oh man, a mosquito bit me, why would God create a mosquito? It's irrelevant. So what? It made my arm itch for a couple of days, right?
Well, before the flood, there would have been thousands of types more plants, tens of thousands more plants and fruits and vegetables and different types of sap. Well, you've got to look at, I think it's the butter bean has blood antigen A in it. So I'm thinking that before the flood, mosquitoes didn't have to use human blood because they could probably get it from some type of sap from some plant. And after the flood, those things started, tens of thousands of different types of trees and things were wiped out. So that's probably when it switched to, because there was a parrot in New Zealand, and this parrot, it used to eat a certain type of tree root or something like that. And anyway, when the tree went extinct, the parrot started ripping open sheep's backs or something like that, and eating the fat from around the kidneys or something like that. And as soon as they reintroduced the tree again, the parrots went from ripping open the sheep's backs back to eating the native food, whatever it was. It was something along those lines. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically an example of like an animal, a bird that went from a full herbivore onto an omnivore, where it was eating both plants and meat and killing animals.
Yeah,
and it stopped killing the animals when its food was reintroduced. So that's my point with the mozzies. When the mozzies were around before the flood, that they wouldn't have had to bite people because there would have been some sort of type of plant sap or juice that they could have sucked out of a plant.
Yeah, good point. And I did some research on this Fex wasp too, and it has an environmental function. It's important for the environment when it does. So it's not like the wasp just goes around with no purpose at all. So God made the wasp important environmentally in its environment. So according to James Downward, it's in. Okay, so show me. Well, I want to show. If I ever talk to James on this, I don't think I will though. But I would say that show me how ethically that is wrong. I would say it's more ethical that this Fex wasp has an environmental function. I think that is more important than a little, like, what if you stub your toe? Like, it's who cares about a little bit of something tries to lay eggs in you, or some type of insect. I mean, we even have pets that hump people's legs. Are you going to say that's too immoral? And I'm sure James wouldn't say that.
That's a dominance thing. That's a dominance thing. When you see a male dog humping another male dog, or a female dog humping a male dog, or a female dog humping a female dog, that's actually a dominance thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to dominate.
So according to James, that would be unethical to him, and that would be cruel. And of course, that doesn't fly. Those type of arguments are so flimsy and so weak. And you can just throw those out. So that's the point we make. Now we're into the second laughing stock of the night. It's Red Fang, and he was in Jungle Jargon's stream that night. And I just don't think he can get away with some of this stuff. And I just wanted to expose it. And then maybe if you guys could weigh in, and I'm definitely going to weigh in some of this. So here we go. This was February
No, Matt was
2nd.
going to say something before. What were you going to say, Matt, before about that? We cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. It doesn't really matter. I was just
I was interested. Okay.
I was just gonna say, like, think about how animals, like the cecal valve one that we just learned about with the Italian wall lizard, right? It's changed its diet. It started eating other things because it had to, and so epigenetically, it started turning on a gene switch that it had never done before, and now it's able to digest a food that it had not ever done before. So they're like, look, it's evolving, but it actually is just an old dormant function that started up again. Kind of like
it's happening too fast. It's happening too fast for evolution anyway. It's like you said, it's epigenetic regulation. That when something can, and then when you take the lizards away from that island, they go back to normal again within no time. That's just way too fast for the mutation selection mechanism. Too fast for mutation.
It's the same thing with that Linsky bacteria where they digested the nylon. They found that, they all have that ability. It was just dormant, locked away.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's the nylons, the natural nylons in the ground, I think, are in. I mean, there's bacteria that eat oil, that eat crude oil. If you leave your oil outside, it'll start to rot very quickly. Mineral oil, that is. So will the other oil, but it'll take longer. The synthetic stuff, but it'll start to rot because there's bacteria that eat it. And what's in the oil? Well, where do we get our plastics from? From oil. The nylon comes from petrochemicals.
Right.
So basically, we've got bacteria that are eating, like you've got them around you everywhere here. That if you leave oil out, they'll start eating the oil, the mineral oil for your car, the motor oil, I mean. And that's what I'm talking about, not vegetable oil, motor oil. And motor oil is and that type of oil has got nylons in it. So there you go.
Right. Incredible.
Well, that's where we already had it, like you said, because they were already eating nylons.
Yep.
This guy that you're about to hear next, this guy Red, he is crazy. Him and Jay Jungle Jargon go at it for hours. I don't know what part we're gonna see now.
Yeah, but there's some points here. Like he says that I think Jungle Jargon's talking about haplogroups and such, and he was saying though that's scientifically disproven. I was like, I want to see what you guys have to say. I'm gonna play a little bit. Here we go.
The chemical structure is very similar between the natural nylons and the synthetic one anyway.
Well,
sorry.
Incest is a crime. It is a crime to humanity.
Cain and Abel didn't have sisters.
All right. Thanks for the invite. All right, I gotta go. You're driving me crazy.
They had to marry. They had to marry this people. What are you talking about? All right, it was great talking to you.
They didn't have a sister in the Bible.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm gonna just address this from my point of view. I mean, I have a slightly different stance than maybe the younger creationist position. I mean, with their narrative, I have a different narrative, and I do believe. Now, when I say this, it doesn't mean millions and billions of years. I'm saying 1,000 years older than Adam. So I'm saying, okay, so the sixth day, I would say that the pre-Adamics were created. And so the humankind, Adam, in Genesis 1:26, with this pluralized, I would say mankind was created there. And then going into the garden, there would be a specific man, a unique man, and that would be Adam, or the one that Jesus talks about in the the whole, where Paul talks about, Peter, and all of them. So that's my position right now. But for the younger creationist position, maybe Matt, you can expound upon that a little bit and maybe talk about that. Now, did Cain have daughters or something? I don't even understand his objection here.
Yeah, I really am kind of confused too, because it's basically the daughters of Adam and Eve that populated the entire world. I don't know what the problem with Cain would be, like maybe where he came from, but that's not what he's saying. He's like, who did Cain marry? Is that what his problem is?
Right. And this Red Fang, I think, is trying to paint a caricature of Christianity like it's just one model, and it's like he's he strawmans a little bit, and then therefore Christianity's false. No, there's actually different positions on the creation account anyway. But I mean, that's one of the points I wanted to bring up with this red thing. You can't just generalize and draw a conclusion based on your stupid generalizations. Study it more. I don't even think you were even representing the young Earth creationist account fairly either. This red thing. I think it was unjustly there, and I think it was kind of subtly. I think he was subtly doing that, and he was plotting it. But I'll probably show that. I'm just gonna try to put this a couple more minutes, and I'm gonna probably conclude it with the Leviticus stuff. Here we go.
Yeah, it does. Your Bible's supposed to be true and everything, but it never mentions the brother, never mentions sisters.
The DNA proves that the Bible's true. The DNA proves the Bible is true. The Bible record.
The DNA definitely doesn't show the Bible is true. I'm sorry to tell you, DNA definitely does not back you up on the Bible.
Yeah, it definitely does.
No, it doesn't.
It definitely does, Red Fang, and this is I'm gonna try to correct him on this, and I'm gonna try to be as hospitable as I can without talking crap and stuff. But I think Neff on his stream a couple weeks ago, he showed a citation. I can even show that citation too. In fact, I'm gonna have to pull it up maybe, but it shows that DNA, the information in DNA, is not only prescriptive. I mean, it's not only it assigns function, but it's also prescriptive. And something that's prescriptive already goes out of the realm of any naturalistic explanation, because that would mean that it is ontological or metaphysical, and it algorithmic. So I'm going to show Mr. Red Fang here. Yes, DNA does prove creation, because not only is it algorithmic, pre-programmed, but also it is prescriptive. You can't have prescriptive things already part or manufactured inside DNA. I mean, that's the point. It is manufactured. You can't have it through natural processes. Something that's prescriptive anyway is metaphysical or ontological, but I'm going to show Mr. Red Fang something here. Now, this is a citation. This is a citation for Red Fang. And all this crap talking he did against Jungle Jargon. You guys can, if you want to say something too, go ahead.
I'm just waiting for him to get at what he's talking about as far as genetics, because I saw the haplogroups up there, and that's not really going back to pre-flood man. That's going back to Noah's three daughter-in-law, the LMN haplogroups. So it'll be interesting to see the debate between the two. I'm wondering if if Jungle Jargon thinks that proves Adam and Eve, or I'm wondering if the other guy is saying that no, that has to do with evolution, because they think that the M and M came from the L, and the L was the first node that originated in Africa. So I'm just curious. That's all. We'll see in a minute.
Oh, yeah, they bring that up out of Africa. So, that's another thing. Matt, that was awesome. You just now got my brain activated on that. I forgot about that. That's going to be another important part. But here's the citation for Red Fang. Look at this. It actually says DNA is prescriptive and algorithmic. That already just completely cancels, eliminates any type of naturalistic explanation for DNA. Therefore, some type of intelligent designer did it. Now, we can argue what's intelligent designer did that, but that's a whole other discussion. And we would say that the Bible probably presents the best explanation. And we can go into that, but sorry, evolution's debunked, right? Just basically on this. This one citation debunks it alone. So I want to get back to the conversation.
Does not. And no, you're talking about Y chromosomes. You're not talking about DNA. You're talking
about global flood. It proves where the ark landed. It proves everything.
There was no proof of a global flood, because a global flood never happened.
I just want to add. Oh, those are fighting words right there. But I just want to add one thing with that citation I showed too. Evolution is descriptive. And what they found out that actually genetics, actually the cellular level, is prescriptive and algorithmic. So I want to point out to Red Fang, the credulous zealot of evolution. And then he just says Noah's flood could not have happened. So those are fighting words.
That's the evidence of the global flood. We're all descendants of
No,
Noah's son.
no, we're not.
Yes.
We're not. We're
We all
not
have
all
Y
related
chromosome.
into your fairy tale book.
What's your Y chromosome?
Yeah, really, who has the fairy tale when everything you do is on assumptions and storytelling and just like this RJ Downward, he actually believes that some type of cat-looking animal is our frickin' ancestor. Like we evolved from those things. Yeah, tell me what's a frickin' fairy tale, buddy. Here's another one I laughed so hard when evolutionists they actually believe this, that a frickin' T-Rex evolved into a chicken. Now tell me what a fairy tale is. That is the epitome of a fairy tale, Red Fang. And you have the gall to frickin' mock our beliefs. If you heard about, yeah, Matt, you know about that, right? See, they think that the chicken somehow is part of a T-Rex.
Yeah, because they said the theropods eventually turned into the chicken domain. Yeah.
Man, I don't know what to say, Red. You're a laughing stock.
I don't know what my Y chromosome off the top of my head is. I know.
Okay,
I know it's.
If you do a test, a Y chromosome.
If I do a test, I know I'm like maybe like
brother,
3% black.
Get your brother, your father, or your paternal cousins, and do a Y chromosome test, and it'll show you. What letter your Y chromosome is.
I've already done 23andMe, and I know I have like 3% black in me, and the rest is European.
Yeah, but that's more than what I have.
So they're talking about out of Africa. So, Matt, what is your viewpoint on the out of Africa thing? I think that still lines with the cradle of life. I think you mentioned that. That doesn't contradict anything. How would that contradict with the biblical account?
Well, you see, the out of Africa theory says that basically mankind evolved from the El known deep in Africa, and that they eventually migrated up and then came back into Africa and then diverged and then created the other haplogroups. Our model says that no, man was created in the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East, and the L-M haplogroups came much, much later because there's more haplogroups when we look in the past. Even Neanderthal had different haplogroups. The reason why is because they were pre-flood people that died, and they didn't pass on their haplogroups into the modern day gene pool. So what happens is we say that the out of Africa theory is easily disproved with genetics, because when we look at skin color, if the out of Africa theory was true and everybody originated from a primate, they would have the black skin like people in Africa do. But that's not possible, because they contain the dominant genes, the capital letters, and so therefore they can only produce more black skinned people. So the Middle Eastern skin color has to be the original first people, because they're the only skin color that can code for every known skin color on Earth.
Isn't that racist, though? I mean, doesn't
no
according to evolutionists, that the black man evolved from the white man, right? Is that what they claim?
Yeah, yeah.
So they're a lower ape. That's what even I think Darwin said that.
Yeah, because to them the white people evolved the last, so we're the highest evolved, and they're the lowest. That's why.
Yeah, I got it backwards.
Isn't that interesting, Red Fang? You frickin' racist.
Yep. Yeah, they do believe that. And that's what Charles Darwin taught. He's a racist, and he was a terrible racist.
Right. So
and,
yeah, you're right. And there was someone else too with him. There was another dude that was saying the same stuff. And also, I think I just want to bust Red Fang's bubble here because he was talking about out of Africa and how demonstratable it is. Really? Are you sure, Red Fang? You sure about that, buddy? So I'm even going to use his own literature against him, his own type of citations against him.
Yeah, which is crazy because he didn't know what the Y chromosome was, but yet he knows the genetic evidence. I don't believe it.
Right. So I'm going to even use his stupid out of Africa hypothesis and debunk it with another hypothesis that says that the out of Africa couldn't even happen. I'm going to use his own evolutionary freaking fairy tale or whatever literature against him.
Or fable.
His own fable against him, yeah.
Yeah. I like to say fairy tale. It makes them sound more stupid.
Uh-oh. This is not looking good for Red Fang. Now, this is even from an evolutionary perspective, and this shows you how ambiguous and how arbitrary and how subjective things are in evolution. DNA evidence debunks out of Africa theory of evolution. They actually think it's frickin' Britain. And that area is where they all came from. I'm going to show that. So here's a citation here. It's wakeup.world.com. I'm going to show another one, though. So much for out of Africa, and this is even from the evolutionary perspective. How subjective can you get in such a belief system? What a waste of time evolution is, I'm telling you. Even their own people don't even agree on stuff.
No, they don't. They're all arguing with each other, and there's no, because it's mostly imagination. It's like with the chimp DNA. With the mitochondria, mitochondrial Eve. They were looking at the current observed mutation rates, the speed of the current observed mutation rates. When we calculate backwards using the observable, what we see today, then we get back 6,000 years, or they got back 6,000 years. It was evolutionists and scientists that found that. But so what they do is it was a long process. It took them 10 years to get there, but they fudged the data and fiddled with it for 10 years and added in basically their own imagination, like what was happening, that the mutation rate must have been faster in the past. But then they turn around and they tell people the key to the past is what's happening in the present. So, well, what's happening in the present is we're not seeing these imaginary made up mutation rates that they had to make these mutation rates much slower to get them back 200,000 years.
Yeah,
we're observing much faster mutation rates, which they were the ones that twice, first time they got back 6,500 years, and then they came back like 2 years later or something. I can't remember how long. Matt would know this. And after 2 years, they came back with much better technology, and they did it again, and they went on the mutation rates that are happening today because they learnt more about the mutation rates and the speeds of them. And then they got back 6,000 years, and they went, oh, no, we know that can't be right because the Bible's wrong, and we know that evolution's true. So then they just started chucking in all their imaginations into it. So, yeah, that's basically backing up what you were saying. Everything's imagination.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, now it's projection. I'm thinking that this Red Fang is projecting his mythology and telling Christians that you believe in mythology. I think it's projection now, because look at this. Re-examining the out of Africa. This is actually in scientific research. This is an actual freaking peer-reviewed source, and it's actually Europe. And that's another theory out there. So sorry, I mean your out of Africa stuff is ambiguous and very nil, and there's nothing there you can justify. So much for that, Red Fang. And that's my point. Like he was so disrespectful to Jungle. And the way he treated them, it was a lot of what I seen godless engineer, and it was grandiosity. And this is maybe it'll humble them. I don't know. Maybe it will. Hopefully.
No, mate, because you can't win with people who can just make up stuff like they want, like with the mitochondrial mutation mutation speeds, the speed of the mutation rates in the mitochondria, that they can just make up anything they like. So if something doesn't fit evolution, they just make up and imagine, oh well, this is what it must have been, and you can never win with them. The only thing that's evolving, and the only thing that's actually evolving, is the theory of evolution. Because every time
isn't that it? Yeah, it's so ironic. There you go. It's the only thing that's evolving is evolution. Perfectly said.
Because they just make up, if something goes against evolution, they absorb it, they take it in eventually. At first they ridicule it, then they're mocking it and ridiculing it, then there's violence towards it, and then they accept it and they take it in and they twist it around to suit themselves. And like with the mtDNA rates, they just make up whatever they need at the time. You can't win with something like that.
No, you can't. Because they're so credulous and so convicted, and like they're zealots. Like these are religious type of mentality. What you see here, like tribalism. This is tribalism from this red thing, and I'm just exposing it. This is tonight. I'm glad I'm doing this. To expose the laughingstocks. He's a laughingstock, and so is James Downard. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do this more often to show laughingstocks. So I'm going to keep on going.
Because I actually spent the money and did the DNA test, unlike you did.
No, I did an autosomal test.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
did you do 23andMe? No, you didn't. Did you put the swab in your mouth and send it in?
Yeah.
No, you said earlier you didn't do it.
No, you guys don't listen. I told you, I've said from the beginning, I did an autosomal test, a Y chromosome.
Those tests aren't tell you fully everything about your family.
And that my cousins did an mtDNA test, so I have all the information I need.
Bloody evolutionists speaking over people, that really pisses me off.
I already said that.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's trying to belittle jungle jargon. I mean, that's his only type of tactic he can do, because if he really just imagine if Raw Matt was in here, or frickin' SFT or Neff, this red thing would be completely smashed into little smithereens. And I just find
I would have said, yeah, by the way, not only have I done 23andMe, I can read the raw data that comes with it. So we can talk about specific genes, but since you want to talk about the Y chromosome, how that you think that helps evolution, it does the exact opposite. Even according to your own theory, apparently the Y chromosome is mutating 3 times faster than the X chromosome. So even your own theory doesn't have the Y chromosome lasting more than 40,000 years. Yet males have been around for a lot more than 40,000 years, according to your own theory. So even your own theory debunks you. Good job. Bravo.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I would have said the Y chromosome, there's only one line, one lineage going back to one man. How does that help your theory?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You're wrong. It doesn't. I don't know anything about it at all.
Your Bibles are fairy tale. That's all they can come up with.
Yeah. Yeah, why are you asking me? I'm not a biologist.
Yeah, they just said it was a fairy tale. Then if you ask them, why are you asking me for?
Yeah, why are you asking me? That's nonsense.
Go on. Sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off where you stopped. I was listening to what I was interested in what you were saying.
The double talk.
Do you guys know what Occam's razor is? It's basically the most simplistic answer is your answer. No. When there's a theory that has multiple complicated theology based on it, and it's usually the wrong answer, and the simplistic one usually is. So when you see a direct line of lineages, one X chromosome going to one female, one Y chromosome going to one male, you add up the mutation rates and it shows they live fairly recently. Why would you conclude that none of that's true? Because it doesn't match your story, which is much more convoluted and much more data rich. It doesn't even make sense.
No.
It violates Occam's razor.
And even out of Africa's not even really substantiated. It's this Europe thing too. So not even within their own narrative, they're not
Well,
even.
no, they went out of Africa. They went to Europe, and then they migrated back to Africa, and then back out of Africa again.
They walked over the Sahara Desert to say, you know what? I don't really like it here. I'm going back. we got to cross the Sahara Desert again. That sounds fun.
Wow, this is brutal.
So your cousins did 23andMe.
Well, I don't know what they did, but they did an mtDNA test.
Okay, how about you stop this and go ask your cousins, and then when you
I know what
do this,
I know what the result.
Then we can restart this conversation over if you don't know what you're talking about.
It's an H3G, mtDNA.
An H3G. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I'm on my phone.
Off the top of your head, okay. Well, that's an mtDNA result. HG3 or 3G.
And what did that tell you?
That tells me that I'm Semitic in my mitochondrial.
How about you use like European and stuff like that? How about you use real words? Come on.
Maternal line is, I'm all European. Maternal line is Semitic. The paternal line is Semitic. And my autosomal is all European. It's all Irish, Scottish, and German.
And how far back does that go?
That goes all the way back as far as you can go with DNA tests.
So you have
and the I chromosome, the Y chromosome goes all the way to Shem, and the mtDNA test goes all the way to Shem's wife.
That guy is so lost.
So you
I'm
have.
just trying to say the reason why they say that that they went over into Africa and then back from Africa again back to Europe is because they found I think it was a Neanderthal skull in Africa or something like that, and they have to explain that because the Neanderthal shouldn't have been there. So that's why they're coming up with, or whatever it was, or they found something in Europe that wasn't meant to be there. I can't remember exactly what it was, so they had to explain it. So the way they explained it was they went back and forwards.
Yeah, so evolution's never consistent. Like, it's one thing I've realized that whenever evolutionists purport they have something established, it's the exact opposite. It's so convoluted, like Matt was saying, and unsettled and ambiguous and subjective and arbitrary. It's just it's worthless. It's a worthless ideology, religion.
Is what it is. Philosophical rubbish. That's all they've got is philosophical garbage. And none of them even they're too scared to even throw links at us anymore. You just see me all the time saying, give me a citation link to prove your fairy tale. And they never give it because they know if they do, I'm going to make them look really, really stupid.
Yeah, so I think what they expect is to have people like, not like Matt, but and to have people out there like to try to push it on people that never do any type of research or anything. And I think that's where they're trying to focus their efforts on, to try to convince those type of people. But they don't expect people like Matt, SFT, you, Jason, other people to do research. And I mean, the research completely destroys evolution.
Yeah, it's mostly the kids they go after. That's the easiest to indoctrinate. The military doesn't want anybody over the age of 23 or something. They're not interested. They can't indoctrinate you. They can't form you.
Right.
You.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Indoctrination.
Yep. They're indoctrinating the whole generation of children in schools, and I'm telling you, if the kids in the science classes in primary school, high school, and above, and college and university, if they could see, if both sides of the story were presented fairly and evolution had to stand on its own legs against the creation, the evolution would fall on its ass, and half the kids in the class would turn creationist, like, for sure. Half of them would, and the other half probably wouldn't, or more than half. Evolution is just, it's a complete and utter, there's nothing to back it up. There's not one single shred of evidence at all. There's no evidence to prove God either. But what it is the data fits creation a lot better than it fits evolution. And if they really looked at it with unbiased eyes, they would see that.
Absolutely.
Neanderthals in you, since you're white.
Autosomal, yeah. Because
you have
European,
so
that's autosomal.
So you have Neanderthal in you.
Autosomal, yeah, but not Y chromosome and not mtDNA.
So that goes a lot farther back than just 4,000 years ago. You really Neanderthals were around
Actually,
50 to 60,000 years ago.
No, I'm gonna show another lesson for Red Fang here. I like doing this.
Google told me they lived back then, so they did.
Yeah. So he's just regurgitating something he probably found from some type of website or something, or blog. Maybe it's a blog. I think the atheists love blogs or something. But I'm going to show you that Neanderthals go a lot shorter than 40,000 years ago. A lot earlier. In fact, it was just a couple medieval times. So let me ask Red Fang now. Would you say Neanderthals? Would you say medieval times was 40,000 years ago? Nah, you can't, because medieval times, that's only like a couple centuries ago. Or, maybe I forget like when the exact. I think it's a couple centuries ago. Yeah. So much for your 40,000 year bogusness.
That's a good one. Good find.
Yeah, it's live science. Hold on. Neanderthal remains actually medieval human. So much for 40,000 years ago. That's a joke. And I wonder if he would ever do research like this. See, I do research. That's what kills evolution, is research. Now, I hope people see this.
We look at both sides of the story. They only look at one. That's where they make the biggest mistake, because they go in blind into debates and they just take a king hit, just instant cold cock straight away out. And then the evolutionists sit there going, oh, he won. I mean, there was a debate that Matt had, the 900 years. Did we live to 900 years? Did man live to 900 years in the past? And the guy admitted at the 57 or 58 minute mark that he was debating, the scientist, I think he was a scientist that he was debating, I'm not sure, but he admitted at the 57-minute mark that Matt had won, and after that, they was still, the evolutionists admitted Matt won, and after that, they were all crowing about how he kicked Matt's ass. It was really, it was hilarious. You must be watching another debate, mate, because Anyway, it's funny.
Crazy, huh?
The guy admits it. The scientist sits there and just openly admits that Matt's won the debate at this point. You know what I mean? And yeah.
He thought I was probably going to come in and read Bible verses to him. Yeah, that's how arrogant they were. They didn't even study.
If they watched one of your debates, they'd run screaming. You know what I mean? They just go, I'm not debating
exactly.
Matt.
That's the only reason I got a debate, is because he didn't know who I was, though. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, he was way over his head.
That's why R and Raw won't do it. He's busy saying, I'm just an idiot. I'm just a child."
There it is. That's something they have, is insults and arrogancy when people actually can challenge them.
One fingernail clipping that Aaron Ra ever has had or ever will have in his entire life. Matt?
What's that? Say again?
I said, I think you've got more intelligence in one fingernail clipping than Aaron Ra's ever had or ever will have in his whole life.
That's awesome. Well, if I could talk to the guy, I could see actually what his intelligence level is. As far as I can tell, he spends every waking brain cell trying to memorize phylogenetic names.
Yeah, he's Mr. Grandiosity. But The thing is, I know for a fact this is true because me, Matt, and SFT were in this conversation on text, and I emailed frickin' Aaron Raw, and I even asked, I'll even give you money to debate SFT or Raw Matt, and he declined, and so he
Well,
does.
you said you were going to give him $50 for everything he got right, right?
Yeah.
That's what you've got to do. I think you just said 25 or $50. You'd give him praise for everything he got right, and he wouldn't even take it. He wouldn't take the debate. I mean, if you have a 3-hour long debate, he could have made himself an enormous amount of money if he really knew what he was talking about.
Now, why would the great Aaron Raw, that is supposedly Mr. Creation Destroyer, duck Raw Matt and SFT?
Especially when he's offered that much money.
Right. So they know it's a bunch of bullshit. That's all. I mean, it's bullshit.
A time debate wouldn't do him good. When I jumped on the non sequitur with him, he just talked over me the entire time. Wouldn't play games.
Just screamed over. Every time you got 2 or 3 words into what you're saying, Matt, straight away, straight over the top of you. You get another 2 or 3 words straight over the top of you. Another 2 or 3 words straight over the top of you. The whole debate was like that from beginning to end. You wouldn't let Matt talk because you knew Matt would kill him because he'd already debated Matt in the comment section and got nailed to the wall.
Yeah, I brought the linguistics to his channel one time. I said, "Wait a minute, are you saying that primates learn to speak and that's how humans got this ability?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, they were mimicking animal sounds, and that's how it happened slowly over time. The Bow Wow theory." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's not true. I still have the screenshots." Yeah, I still have the screenshots from our conversation a long time ago. They're still on his channel, but he removed them, of course.
Wow, the guy's a freaking villain, straight out of a movie too. Like I mean, if I was gonna pick a villain face, it would be his. So he fits that narrative perfectly, that mold.
Dang, guys, I gotta go. Kids back.
All right,
Sorry, guys.
I appreciate all your time here, Matt. I think it was a lot of information and knowledge we gained tonight. I appreciate that.
Yeah, keep going though. Keep going. I want to listen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be out of here.
Sweet, man.
Okay.
Have a good one.
God bless you.
See you, mate. See you.
It only got well.
God bless you, Matt. I mean, see ya. Move.
If you have Neanderthal DNA in you, your DNA is older than the Bible.
No.
Yes, if you're white, you share that DNA.
Before the global
Red Fang needs to learn what an anachronism is.
flood. It goes back.
Oh my God, there was no global flood. Dear Lord, you have no science. Okay.
Those are fighting words, right, Jason? The global flood.
Yeah, I don't know. The global flood. 3 words.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm very tired at the moment.
I got you,
I'm
man.
asleep, but I'm not going to sleep until tonight because otherwise it'll mess up my sleeping habits again.
Yeah, it's fine if you go too, because I'm just going to probably conclude with Leviticus 25 anyway. So.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Just if you feel like you want to relax and hit the sack, go ahead.
No, that's fine. No, I'm not.
Cool.
I'm gonna go to bed now and sleep now. They'll just mess me up again, so I'm better off waiting until tonight. So it's only like 5:42 in the afternoon here, PM.
Yeah, so it's not like I want to say something too. Like even though, I'm probably not as strong of an advocate for a global flood as other ones, but I would say that there is a lot of evidence for it though, because you have sea life on mountains and whales in the freaking desert and such. But yeah, so it's just not like there's zero evidence for the Noah's flood. So I think that's a gross distortion and fabrication, and what's really not. Yeah.
There's somewhere they've found like whale fossils on the top of a mountain range, or 800 meters or something, or 800 feet or meters. I can't remember which one above sea level.
Yeah.
I think 800 feet.
Yeah. So I don't think Red Fang is either obtuse or he's purposely suppressing that. So I think either is unacceptable.
Yeah.
DNA just proves.
Let me tell you something. If science
Both the Y chromosomes.
Science found out that there was a global flood, we would know about it. But
No.
there's no science that backs it.
They want to lie to you. They don't want.
Why? Why would they want to lie?
To protect their stupid evolution religion, that's why. It's a government, it's actually, yeah, I think it's a governmental, yeah, it's a governmental doctrine. I think it's to control the masses and to get people to follow them.
They don't want people to be Christians.
Right.
The reason why they don't want people to be Christians because Christians believe in free will, and they don't want people believing. Because look, let's put it this way: if you're an evolutionist and you think that you're an atheist and you believe that there's only this life, and then when you die, that's it forever, and it's just like you don't know anything and everything's gone, then you're going to be more afraid to die. So you're going to be easier to control. But with there's a lot of Christians out there that just go, well, if I die, well, death doesn't frighten me so much because, this world's a putrid, broken, evil place. And I want to go, and I wouldn't mind going to paradise, heaven, wherever that is. Well, it's not the Christian death doesn't hold the same fear for a true believing Christian, especially one like me, who's seen the supernatural. It doesn't hold any fear for us at all, and then they can't control you so easily when you're not scared to die, and they can't scare you. Well, that's why they want people to believe in evolution and become atheists.
Right.
They're easy to scare and control.
Yeah, they're like sheeple. So I would say that you're sheeple, Red Fang, unfortunately.
They don't want you to know that the Bible history is true.
No. Why? Why would they want to prove that?
Because they hate the history of the Bible. They hate truth.
Yeah, this everything Jungle's spot on with this. Good stuff, Jungle.
No, they don't. Science doesn't hate the truth. They want to find the truth.
They hate science.
I want to make this clear too. Science is inductive. It does not make any claims to any truths. That belongs in philosophy. Science is just a method of doing things. And how your conclusions are completely different from that. You have to justify it in some type of epistemology and some type of justification philosophically. So what Red Fang is, he's confusing science with philosophy, and maybe he needs to have a course on that. So I recommend a course on or some type of research.
They hate facts. They hate the truth.
No.
Yeah.
If they wanted science, don't care about people's feelings. They care about the facts and what information that they can find.
Facts. He's just throwing around philosophical jargon like it's reckless. It's just reckless, and he doesn't even understand the difference between science and philosophy. And scientists are not philosophers. Did you know that, Red Fang? Gosh. He's just so credulous. He's a zealot, just like these others. And he needs to be brought down a notch or two.
But
if
there's
they
no
cared about the facts. They would look and see what the Y chromosome and the mtDNA is showing.
Yes, but we've
science only deals with approximations and things are probability. See, approximations and probabilities. That's the only thing you can get out of science. And if you want to go into the facts world, then you need God to ground that because you have no epistemological framework to do that.
Look, what it is it's a theory, and the data doesn't fit evolution, and it doesn't fit science. It doesn't fit evolution. It doesn't fit creation perfectly. But what it does, it'll fit one or the other better than better.
Yep.
And it does fit creation much better.
Exactly. And we would say, I would say, especially the younger creationist model, they have a freaking model prepared. That's with the haplogroups and the heterozygosity, and with the mtDNA rates, they can actually give a model that what they would call fits, testability, future testability and stuff, where they can do all that. I don't see any with that in evolution.
Mutation rate takes up 6,000 years.
Yeah, see, we can definitely test humans are young through mtDNA rates.
Yep. Well, the evolutionists are the ones that discovered that time frame.
Yeah. So, and of course, they're going to probably, say that's you're misrepresenting there or whatever, because that's all I see. They'll try to deny that, but
no, that's what they. Anyway, go on. Keep going. Sorry, mate.
What do you expect when you get to denying the data? So,
seen with
We all landed in Turkey.
with DNA, we have seen and proven that we came from Africa.
proven my arse. Even tonight. I mean, isn't this amazing? The amount of arrogance here, and I mean, gosh, even tonight just showed that we have even evolutionary data saying it's not Africa. It's out of freaking Europe.
It's a theory.
Then he says it's proven. This is what I'm talking about, man. This is freaking laughing stockville here. Laughing stock.
Once they give me the citation and give me the citation in just 10 minutes, and I'll put everything in brackets that proves exactly what we're saying is true, and that you're just believing on a theory or a hypothesis.
Yep.
That's first.
Yeah, we have a pretty. I mean, the younger creationists have a pretty solid model.
People came from Africa. It is scientifically proven, not.
That is hilarious. Gosh, I mean, the amount of arrogance is incredible.
I'd need a citation for that, Mr. Evolutionist.
Yeah, and then I'm going to throw him the frickin' Europe citation. Oh, I didn't know that was there.
Well, they give you the citation, and then you go into it and you basically point it out to them, and they point out the parts of the citation that the citation matches up better with creation. You show them that, and they just sit there and stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la. They just don't want to know. They don't want to learn.
No, he's just parroting the same crap from his websites and blogs, and that's about it.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what we call a confirmation bias.
Yes, it is. You just haven't. Your family's just hiding that section
of Africa.
Yes, we did. We did come out of Africa. Everybody has a little bit of black in them.
So funny.
Yeah. Everybody, well, whatever. Who cares? What they've discovered is that you get a 7-foot tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed German and a 4.5-foot tall pygmy from the Amazon rainforest. And the biggest genetic difference you'll find between those two vastly different ethnic groups is 0.012% difference only.
Wow.
That's
impressive. Yeah, that's pretty.
That's a different room. 0.012%.
That's compelling. I mean, that shows you kind of.
That comes from the evolutionists, by the way. That's not creationist propaganda. That's coming from the evolutionists' data, their scientific data, their research, not ours.
Yep.
Oh, people went to Africa. They didn't come out.
No, they didn't. No, they all came out of Africa, and some went back.
I want to try to show a third. I think I had another one too. Hold on.
There we go.
This is so hilarious. The amount of hubris from this guy. It's incredible.
Yeah, the Sahara Desert's just such a lovely place. What is it? I think it's the Sahara Desert. It's just all, there's no water. It's just all sand. Let's go out there. That's a great place to because it would take them a long time to cross it, and they got to develop all these new skills on how to live in the desert and where to find water and food and where to dig for this and what rocks to look under and whatever. And it's just not going to happen.
Do you see this? It says, I'm showing this is from the Telegraph. I mean, that is a reputable source. I mean, that's a worldwide syndication. I mean, it's not like small time. Here's what it says, and this is in the Science. Europe was the birthplace of mankind, not Africa, as scientists find.
Hilarious.
Does that make him look pretty foolish? I mean, it has to. Come on. Like, this is pathetic.
Yeah. They just changed it. This is all because they found a skull out of place.
That is pathetic, man. Come on, Red Fang. You gotta humble yourself. A little bit of humility, brother. There's just no excuse for that. To be talking like this is settled stuff, like it's objective almost, and like it's everyone realizes it's an objective fact. It's the exact opposite, which what you're purporting it. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I'm related to people that went to Africa.
Oh my God, they left Africa and then they came back.
No.
We started in Africa and then we came back.
They left Turkey and
the credulity is strong in this one.
They went to Africa.
No. There's no sign of population of humans starting in Turkey.
The DNA.
I think Matt covered this. The cradle of life, or the cradle of life in that area in the Middle East, is where we have citation for, which would obviously fit the Garden of Eden narrative.
Yeah. Well, the genetic diversity it goes white. It goes Middle Easterns have got the highest genetic diversity, the best genetic diversity. Then it goes Asians have got the second lowest genetic diversity. White people have got the third lowest genetic diversity, and black people have the lowest genetic diversity. And the reason why black people have the lowest genetic diversity is because they have way more children. And with the mutation build-up per generation, which is nailed based something like that, it's nailed their genetic diversity to the wall with having too many children. So this just proves creation beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Not to an evolutionist that wouldn't prove it.
Right, exactly.
Y chromosome is the evidence.
No, the DNA is different than the Y chromosome.
Is the Y chromosome?
The Y chromosome just shows that you're male, not female. The X chromosome.
That you just offended probably all these people today that are gender neutralists and stuff, and I find that hilarious too. Like he's actually going against them with that.
It's a comedy. This is a great comedy, man. I feel like I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it was on Jungle's channel.
Yeah, it shows you that you're female. The Y chromosome just shows you that you're male.
But it's DNA. It's DNA. It doesn't lie. It tells you which family you belong to.
DNA shows.
So much for gender fluidity, Red Fang, eh?
Yeah.
You where your bloodline comes from.
Say men can have babies, men can have periods, and stuff like that. When you Google "men can" and it comes up MENCAN, men can, and the top search results are men can have babies, men can have periods.
Yeah,
they're insane.
It is.
People are
it's
insane.
Insanity, man.
They're also,
this is when you have godlessness is insanity.
Yeah, it is. That's
what it identifies which family that you belong to, that you came from way back from the time of Noah. Without a doubt, unless you're an F or a K, you can positively identify which family you belong to.
F and a K. There's no F in or K. There's either Y or X.
No, the Y chromosome has A through R.
No.
Has A, B,
Y
C.
chromosome shows you that you're male.
The Y chromosome has a designation.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So now it's starting to give me the headache. It's like, if you wanted to stay around, you can. I'm gonna do like a thing on Leviticus 25. It's up to you if you want to be part of that.
No, you go. You do the Leviticus 25 thing or whatever you want to do. You sound like you're tired, man. So that's fine.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of it, like idiots,
Yeah, okay.
ignoramuses.
Oh no, I think it's funny.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's hilarious.
They're laughing stocks, so I guess it's kind of funny. Yeah.
But no, that's okay, man. You do your Leviticus thing, so you go ahead.
All right, man. I appreciate all your time you came in here. I really enjoy you. I'm gonna do this. I wish we can do this more often because maybe we'll have this every week as laughing stocks and just expose laughing stocks.
Yeah,
that'd be fun, you know.
Yeah, the Y chromosome just proves you're a male. No, it doesn't. The Y chromosome data fits the creation model a lot better than it fits the come on, Ava. Fits the creation model a lot better than it fits the evolution model. That's for sure.
Yeah, because where the hell does sex even come from, and why would evolution even think about sex? Why did? Yeah, that's a great question. Like, why did evolution even feel the need to have sex or have sexes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, bacteria, they don't have sex; they divide. But yeah, yeah, that's right. It's how did the male and the female, how did they evolve? How did reproductive organs evolve? There's so many things that are way too complex to explain through evolution.
Right.
It's all just stuff they make up off the top of their head. They have a problem, so they just sit down and get some really smart people to sit there like Richard Dawkins, and they are very intelligent people, like Richard Dawkins and Lawrence Krauss, and they just make up any sort of fairy tale that sort of fits the mathematical data, sort of a little bit fits it, and they put it out there, and all of a sudden you've got evolutionists running around saying how it's evidence for evolution and it proves evolution, and it's a total
and people buy it. I mean, they buy that stuff and they even applaud them. So the biggest fools on the earth are atheists. But yeah, I'm gonna get to Leviticus now. So this is my.
Sorry.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can. That's fine. Yeah. So if you want to, you can comment too if you want to say something, or you can leave, whatever.
No, we'll stay here. We'll listen.
Sweet. All right. Yeah. So this is like our last laughing stock, and it has to do with my own comment section that on my video. So this laughing stock here, is a guy named World Gone Mad, and I find that so funny with his belief system. And to me, yeah, that's madness. Atheism is madness. So I'm gonna go to some of these comments here, and I'm gonna blow it up. People are asking why would you go to your way to show someone with your stupid comment? Well, because it's for edification purposes, and for the growth of the body of Christ, and for knowledge, just for knowledge. Period. So he's basically I'm going to pull this up. Leviticus 25:46. If he can, yeah, here we go. There we go. It's just a little bit laggy right now. Just bear with me.
My dog's drinking water, if you're wondering what that sound is.
Oh, no, yeah.
He drinks like a camel. It's the longest drink, the biggest drinks I've ever seen any dog. Look at me. Just going and going and going.
Yeah. So here's his verses that referring to. And of course, we know Josh Bowen does the same stuff, and it really is. They overdo it, and they don't. They're not objective about these verses at all. So what they read, and remember these are English translations too of the Hebrew text. And the English, remember this: the English language consistently evolves and it changes. Now, the biblical texts are not. They're set in stone languages. They don't change. So that's another point I want to make before I get going here. So, and I'm using the King James because it has a lexicon. So I'm gonna go ahead.
Refill before 18 whatever it was meant to just to fill from empty to full.
Yeah.
It didn't mean to refill your glass after you've already had a drink. So
yeah,
it's things like that. When the King James Bible was written, refill meant just to fill, not to refill it like we know it as today.
Great
not
point.
to fill it up again, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, see, the English language changes too. So if you're going to take the biblical text face value, then you're actually agreeing that you're an idiot, and you're agreeing that your interpretational skills are it's subjective at the very best. Like it's flawed. So you would actually agree that your interpretational skills, if you take the English text face value, then you're agreeing that your interpretation's flawed because the English language changes, it evolves. So I'm going to go from verse 44. Both thy bondmen and bondmaids, which thou shalt be unto the heathen that are round about you, that them you shall buy. Bondmen and bondmaids, and more of the children, the strangers, the sojourn among you, ye shall buy from their families which are with you. Ye shall begin your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take with them an inheritance for your children after you, and ye shall inherit them for a possession, and they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not roll over one with rigor. So there's a couple things here. So this laughing stock village atheist that I'm talking to in the comment section. So I'm glad I'm getting to address this. So I'm gonna, if he's ever watching this, I think he might be, or somewhere in there. My first question to you is why are you leaving out verse 45? It's funny how you mentioned verse 46 and verse 44. Why not verse 44? Because look, it says you can buy them. So why are you circumventing this passage and focusing on verse 46? That's my first question to the village idiot and laughing stock in my comment section. Because maybe verse 45 doesn't suggest slavery to you? Isn't that double standard though? Like what makes it so you can cherry pick verse 46 and not verse 45?
Some people became willing servants back then. They were willingly became servants because there was no social security or welfare.
Yeah, I'm going to show that. Yeah. So according to him, that these people are slaves and there's no type of it's involuntary, and of course he can't prove that. Here's my another point that I want to show. Just because they're called a possession or property doesn't mean they're treated like property or possession. I'm going to prove my point here with Ezekiel.
Well, you had 7 years to pay back. You had 7 years to pay back money. And if you couldn't pay back the money, if you stopped making your payments, then for say after 3 years, then you still had 4 years left to go. So you would become the property, the slave or servant of the person that you owed the money to until that 4 year period ended, and then you'd be set free.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'm going to prove that too, though. I mean, I have so much to show this village idiot. Village atheist, we'll call him. So here's Ezekiel 44:28. Now, if you're going to say, now this is your supposition, this is what he's supposing into the text, that people, because they're called property, that means they're treated like property. Well, you're going to have to apply that ubiquitously, even in Ezekiel 44:20. Let me read this. And it shall be unto them an inheritance, for I am their inheritance. And you shall give them no possession, for in Israel I am their possession. So you have to apply that here too. That means you're going to say that God is the property, is treated like property. He is the slave of Israel. So to the atheist, good luck with that interpretation. No scholar would ever say that. You're a clown. And this is my point. If you're going to say people are treated like property, then you're going to have to apply that equally to Ezekiel 44:28. That makes no sense. It means your stupid interpretation is faulty and it's incoherent. So that's the first point I wanted to show Mr. Village Atheist in my comment section.
Well, there was oh no, that story's a little bit too full on. It's directly from the Bible, but no, I won't say it. It's about a woman being raped and murdered and cut up into.
Oh yes, you're right. Then they hunted the people that did that and they just killed them.
They gave it a massive like 100,000 or whatever, 200,000 of them or something like that outside the city walls, and they said send out the men that raped her and murdered her. If you don't send them out, we'll just kill them and we'll leave you alone. And they were arrogant and they said no, we're not sending them out. So they basically just killed every single person in the town and put them all to death because they were all corrupt and evil. Right. And that's justice. That's real justice. They talk about women, justice for women today. Well, there was a woman who was a concubine of one man, just one so-called worthless concubine that was his property, got killed, and many good men died avenging her. So, that sounds like the sort of justice I'd like to see today.
Oh man, that's good. I mean, that's justice that we deserve, but the libtards and atheists are taken away from us.
The government has the right to kill. Yeah. The government has the right to kill or go to war, like execute people, but the individual doesn't. Like I can't just decide to go out and execute somebody because they did something. But if the government wants to execute them for that, then the government has the right and the law to do that.
Right. So I want to make sure this guy's name again. It's World Gone Mad. So to the Village Atheist called World Gone Mad. Now here's the way we call syntax in the Hebrew. And I'm going to show why this is relevant. And he completely shrugged this off and actually deflected this. Now, the part of this I want to show him is that you may buy. Let's see here. Somewhere, I have to find it. So, hold on 1 second while I find it.
I should say so-called worthless concubine. I didn't mean that the woman was worthless, because the way I said that sounded like I meant the woman was worthless. No, I didn't mean that, and I love that story. I love reading that story in the Bible because I love to hear about those people getting it.
Yeah,
and they deserved everything they got. That whole town, city deserved to be all put to death and destroyed because they were a bunch of scumbags that protected rapist scumbags. That's stuff that you don't see that sort of justice today, right? Not for one woman.
Right. Great. Well said. Yeah, I completely agree. Well, here it is. Kana, you shall buy. Here's the syntax. It's in the Hebrew, I guess that specific Hebrew construction, the diacritic is almost identical to Ruth. I'm going to show this why we can't just throw aside. And he shrugged this aside. Of course, I mean, what else am I going to expect from an atheist? But So I'm gonna go to Ruth 4:10. Ruth, I love Ruth.
Yeah, I like the story of Ruth, the book of Ruth. I mean, I think it's the Ruth is its own book, isn't it?
Yeah,
One of the
it
66.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
I love
just
that book. I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's about real love and real life.
Yep.
So we saw the syntax of Leviticus 25:44. Well, here it is here in Ruth. There it is. So yes, they're correlated, and we can make that argument. And that's why I'm saying you just can't shrug it off and dismiss it just because you have this just because you have biases or something that's whatever your preconceived notions are. We don't care about your stupid preconceived notions into the Bible. It's useless. But we can show is syntax and the syntactical similarities. And what I want to show this village atheist is one thing: Ruth is a foreigner. Number one.
Yeah.
And number two, she was bought.
Yeah. Well, she was a what do you call it? She was from a totally different culture as well.
Yeah.
And yes, so people that say that we shouldn't intermix, marry, and stuff like that, that the Bible says that, well, that's wrong because Ruth proves that that's wrong.
And here's another point: that she was bought by a kinsman redeemer. So in other words, her contract, her contract of service or servitude, her contract of servitude work was bought out by Boaz. So if we correlate those two together, that what we're seeing here in Leviticus 25:44 through 46 is kinsmen redeemers. And see, you want to stay with context too. I want to show this other point too. Hold on real quick. There we go. See, when you hear from scholars and when they critique the Bible, you have to follow the narrative, and when does the subject change and how it flows, the narrative. I want to show Mr. Village Atheist something here. That if you follow from verse 1 Leviticus 25:1, it's talking about Israel. There's nothing mentioned here at all about foreigners. Nothing. All the way through. And then all of a sudden you're going to invoke a foreigner out of the thin blue air? That is not hermeneutics. That is not how scholarship works, Mr. Village Atheist. So why the hell, after 45 verses of talking about Israel, all of a sudden talk about foreigners and other people outside of Israel? So that's another reason why this is a good argument why this could be kinsmen redeemers. Now there is a straightforward argument there. I presented that. Now I'm even going to go beyond this. I'm even going to grant him these are foreigners, or according to him. I'm going to address. I'm not even going to say these are kinsmen redeemers. I'm going to actually take that argument away from him. I'm still going to destroy his stupid argument. Hold on one second. I'm going to show him something. A little something. When it shows up, it says laggy, so. Okay, this is for Mr. Village Atheist. What's this guy's name again? Um, World Gone Mad. So, World Gone Mad. This is from Jacob Milgram, a Hebrew scholar. He's one of the most. Look how he's been around for let's look at his age. He's a prominent, prolific Hebrew scholar. So he's going to tell you about the word property, possession, akuzah. And this is another point I want to shove in the face of this World Gone Mad, because he's so adamant about his ignorance. He needs to be brought down a few notches. The word used for property or possession is the Hebrew word akuzah. This word in these servant or slave contexts almost always refers to the work wages of an eved in the Old Testament rather than the person. This law merely indicates that the Jubilee does not apply to the non-Israelite slaves. It does not apply that the slave is a piece of property. Do you listen to this? Who are you to tell Jacob Milgram, or someone that's familiar with the Hebrew text, that's been frickin' exposed into the Hebrew manuscripts, and you're going to impose your stupid interpretation over his, Mr. World Gone Mad? So I'm going to repeat that. It does not imply that the slave is a piece of property at the mercy of his master. So as Milgram has explained, property language does not refer to the person, period. So here's the point I'm trying to show this village atheist. That you have to demonstrate we're even talking about people, firstly. And then secondly, you're going to have to demonstrate how people were treated like property. So, so much for your stupid shenanigans there. I'm going to show one other thing, too, that completely destroys his stupid narrative. The same one that digital Hammurabi holds to. So, yeah, I'm probably going to hear, what do you call it, crickets chirping now in my comment section after this, and that's worth it. It really is.
Oh, you'll never shut the atheist up.
I love it. I do love it. In fact, I'm gonna believe it or not, I might put a book out about slavery out there. Just because I wanted an opposition to that digital Hammurabi's book, just to like get it out there, just for that very reason alone. Hold on, I'm still fumbling through it because it's a little bit laggy. This is my last point that completely disproves or eliminates his stupid arguments. Puts an end to it. So yeah, whoever's watching, I apologize. It's like, so just bear through it with, yeah, eventually we will find it.
Doesn't bother me. Little picture of Aaron Ra.
Yeah. Here it is. I found it. Oh, worst nightmare for this guy. This is a nightmare for his position anyway. So this is from Tyndale's Old Testament commentaries, Deuteronomy Edward words. This is on page 335. So quote, the buying of a Hebrew servant at Exodus 21:2 would most likely refer to a foreign Habiru servant, as illustrated in Leviticus 25:44 through 46. So he claims. So this is one of his other claims. His brainless claims, and he claims that the person or people mentioned in Exodus 21:2 were only Israelites. And that, therefore, it's irrelevant in Leviticus 25:44 through 46. Only the Israelites had 6-year terms. Well, that's not true. Actually, it's the opposite. It's the foreigners themselves that are mentioned in Exodus 21:2. I'm going to prove that in the text here in a second anyway. So, actually, Exodus 21:2 is referring to Leviticus 25:44 through 46. Those are the foreigners. So they had 6-year terms. And you ask, well, why does it say that they can be inherited forever? Because they would get their freaking ear pierced. I'm going to show that too. So I'm going to go to Exodus 21. Oh, I love Exodus 21. This is like the master debunker of all slave tards. So it was a good biblical lesson for tonight. And yeah, this is for the edification of people, of the Christians that are, daunted or intimidated. You don't need to be intimidated. Just it takes work and some research.
Well, let me tell you something about the slave trade, like with the American slave trade and the Islamic slave trade. There was the death rate of the slaves with the American slave trade of about 7 or 8%. With the Islamic slave trade, there was a death rate of about 90% or 97%. I think it was way up. 3 out of every 100 only survived.
Wow, yeah.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So Exodus 21:2, it reads, "If thou buy," see, remember I mentioned at the beginning of this that the English texts are imperfect, they change. Actually, the word Hebrew is nowhere to be found, or Israelite, in the manuscripts. I'm going to prove that. If thou buy an ERV, that's the word in the Hebrew. 6 years he shall serve thee, into the 7th he shall go out. But here's the kicker of what's going on here. If his master shall bring him to the judges, okay, hold on, I'm going to just make sure I find the ear pierce thing. It's, here it is, 5. But here's the kicker for Mr. Village Atheist. And if his servant shall plainly say, I love, not afraid, not forced, not imposed, not shackled, I love. That's an important word, love. That means he has affection for his master. My wife and my children, I will not go out free. And then I will go to the master and says, he shall bring him to the door, unto the doorpost, and his master, and he shall bore his ear, as a token to serve him forever. And there it is. That explains Leviticus 25:46 being inherited for what they call olam for perpetuity. It's forever. But of course, that doesn't make any sense in philosophical sense. It would be maybe 20 years or 40 years, or whatever. How long they lived or whatever. So there you go. But I'm going to show in the Hebrew that this is in the actual Hebrew manuscripts. It doesn't say Hebrew. It's Ivri, and it's actually a foreigner.
His life would have actually been extended being a slave than if he was free.
Yeah, because he was taken care of. Yeah,
because he was so poor. His master would have spent a lot of money to look after him.
Absolutely,
properly because he served him really well. Whereas if he lived in the free market out on the street, he'd probably starve to death and die.
Great point. Exactly. Abraham is actually a master, and he took care of people. You think Abraham would slave people? No. In fact, he was a loving person. Like, he was affectionate.
Yeah, he was.
So here it is. Do you see the word Israelite here in the Hebrew? Evri. That's That is not the Hebrew word for Israelite. That's actually a foreigner. Here it is. There's nothing here. Just watch my cursor. It's not there, Israelite. It's not there. It's Ivri. I want to prove my point because he's probably going to say, "Well, you're just lying. That's not the Hebrew word for Israelite." Well, look, I'm going to show it to you. It's Yisrael. It's a Yisraelite. That is the Hebrew word for Israelite.
If I lived back then and I had slaves, I would feed them exactly what I eat, and I wouldn't eat any more than I'd share my stuff out equally. Whatever I ate, I would give to them as well.
Yeah, and that's what God expected his people to do, to take care of each other.
I know what I'm like. I'd probably look after them better than I look after myself.
Yeah, there you go. That's the problem. Wait a minute now. How the hell do you spell Israelite? Okay, Israel is... Oh, no. Wow, okay, good. It's coming around, I think. What? How do you spell this? Okay, I have to do this. This is unfortunate.
I go without a lot for my dogs. Just dogs. I mean, if I had people that I had to look after like that, I would look after them so well, or as good as I could. I'd go without so I could give to them. I go without a lot for my dog.
Yeah.
A lot.
Because you're a loving person, yeah. Whoops, I misspelled that too. Gosh.
Yeah, but put it this way, I want to be alone till the day I die. I don't ever want to be. I enjoy being alone.
I hear you, brother.
I could live in the house by myself and never see another person for years on end and be completely content. I've got no fear of crowds or anything like that.
I got you. So world gone mad. So if he's going to say, "Oh, you're just a liar," Ivri means Israelite. In fact, I'm going to debunk that. Here, I'm going to show you the real word for Israelite in the Hebrew. Let's go there. So it doesn't. All your excuses fail. I'm sorry, Mr. Village Atheist, world gone mad. So here is the Hebrew word for Israelite. So you can see they're completely two different words and meanings or context.
Then they would have had people lining up to be slaves. They would have literally had poor people that had no food that would have killed to be one of those rich people's slaves. They would have
absolutely
literally killed.
Yeah, because they were taken care of. They were nourished. They had bed and they had bed, all that stuff. They even had privileges with women, and they could even get married and have their own children.
That's right. Yep.
So here it is, Yisrael. That's not Ivri. That's not Israelite. It's Israel. It's actually Yisraelite. So there it is, debunked. Sorry, I mean that's just unfortunate. I sunk the boat of his ship tonight, but it was really for the edification of the church and those who are seeking to learn about Hebrew manuscripts and those who are seeking the truth. So there it is, another laughing stock bites the dust. So I really appreciate you coming on, Jason, tonight. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to do this more. It's been fun.
Yeah, I enjoy doing it. Just maybe sometime I could get on when I'm not. Every time I seem to get on, I'm tired. I'm overtired and I can't think straight. But one of these days I'll actually get on when I've got my head together and I'm not so tired.
I got you. Yeah, I understand completely. And you're in another time zone too, so it's really difficult sometimes to marry those together.
No, it doesn't really bother me. The time. I mean, I try to sleep at night, but mostly I don't. And my sleeping hours they change from day to night all over the place. So just need to get me at a time I've had a bit of rest.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, brother. But yeah, I'm probably going to call it a night. If you If you want to say anything else before we get off, go ahead, and then we'll probably call it.
Nah, call it.
All right, man. I want to say good night and God bless everyone, especially in the chat. Appreciate everyone coming in here. I always like to mention the people that come into my chat. Matt Bond came in here. Our village atheist, World Gone Mad, came in here. One Way came in here. Man, we had some people. Oh my gosh, Daniel, KD Wells in the house. Iger. So we had SFT, sweet. Yeah, we had quite a few people in here. Our Tog, and we also had Sambo. I don't know who that is. Huh? Quite a few people. I'm gonna say good night and God bless.
We have a dentary bone shaped the way we do because 250 million years ago, our ancestors were insectivores.
The survey said.
I'm a BA in history. I'm not a scientist. I don't have a credentials in that department.
Kind of got blindsided by some satellite DNA stuff that he brought up during the last debate I did with him. I kind of got blindsided by some satellite DNA stuff that he brought up during the last debate I did with him.
For all those who appreciate the work that we're doing here on Standing for Truth, please hit that subscribe button because we are just getting started.